The WWF, what the world is watching. Turn it on and rip the knob off.
Guys, and welcome back to the Wrestling Memory Grenade, episode 175 this week. I am Ray Russell, and welcome back to the Royal Rumble 89 review, part 2 of the definitive edition of the Rumble 89. And this is actually part 1 of part 2 of the Rumble review, and what I mean by that is we're going to kick things off the same way we did last week's episode, going to dissect the Rumble match itself, where we left off last week, all the great undercard matches. Well, great may be an overstatement on some of those matches, but nevertheless, we are back. We're going to have a lot of fun there. And then on the other side, part 2 of part 2 later in the show, going to have a special guest, my brother Jesse, returning to the program to talk our youthful memories of this era, everything going on around it, and of course the Royal Rumble pay-per-view itself, the live version that we got to watch on just a short delay, and then of course the Coliseum video and beyond, just our thoughts from the entire pay-per-view coming to you later in this episode of The Grenade. But first, we're going to jump back into things. Royal Rumble 89, going back again to January 15th, the Summit in Houston, Texas, 19,000 strong. I would imagine that is a sold-out attendance there in the Summit for the World Wrestling Federation pay-per-view. First of its kind on pay-per-view, that is, and the first ever 30-man edition of the Rumble. In fact, right now, you guys can head over to patreon.com/WrestleCopia and simply join the all-access tier. Going to give you just a sample of one of the big ones. We cover Royal Rumble 89 in the videocast form. Me and Gene Jackson join up there. You guys can check out the first half of the show right there on the all-access tier for anybody looking to listen to or watch the entire program. We covered the Royal Rumble 89 from beginning to end. You can join the ultimate tier over there at Patreon. But right now, guys, we jump back into things here on the Grenade Show. As we go backstage, Mean Gene Okerlund standing by with the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, maybe questioning DiBiase and those potential shenanigans from earlier today with the Doctor of Style Slick. We're also going to hear Sean Mooney standing by with the Heenan family, and then it's back to Mean Gene with the Hulkster.
All right, Virgil, along with the $1 Million Man, and you've got a smile on your face of sorts. You've got to be happy about something, Ted DiBiase.
Just a few minutes away from the Royal Rumble, 30 of the top stars in the World Wrestling Federation, and topping off that list, the top star in all of the wrestling world today, yours truly, the $1 Million Man. And when you're as wealthy as I am, Okerlund, you can be as lucky as you want to be.
Wait a minute. On the subject of luck, what was going on between you and the Doctor of Style Slick? Was there some business transaction?
What are you insinuating, little man?
I wouldn't question your integrity. You know me better than that.
Well, like I said, placement in this event is my luck of the draw. And like I said before, when you've got my kind of money, you can be as lucky as you want.
Well, joining me now, Bobby the Brain Heenan, members of the Heenan family, and Mr. Heenan, I'm sure you're well aware, only one man wins the Royal Rumble.
Well, I'm not sure how the other managers prepare their men, but believe me, the Heenan family's ready. We know what we're up against, and we're ready for anything. You can bet on that.
Okay, also the Brainbusters involved, Tully Blanchard.
You know, it's just an honor to be in the Royal Rumble, to be one of the finest 30 in all of professional wrestling. But you know, I think we're standing here with the winner.
Okay, and Arn Anderson.
Sean Moody, if you want to win the Rumble, you got to be a loner. You got to go right for the juggler. All people, 30 men, just 30 numbers. That's the way we're going to view them. 30 men, 30 numbers.
Okay, many believe the odds-on favorite Andre the Giant.
I don't know what time I'm going to come in the ring, but I'm going to tell you one thing. I know when I'm going out of the ring, I will be the last one. I never lost a match so far, and I come here again to win. And even you guys don't better than stopping in front of me, because you guys going out just like everybody else. And I will stay in the middle.
There you have it from the Heenan family. Let's go back to Gene Okerlund.
All right, Hulk Hogan, in visiting you over the past week, you are hungry. But what if, in the Royal Rumble, the big boss man should track you down?
Well, you know, Mean Gene, I'm worried about a lot of things, man, in the Royal Rumble. You know, yeah, the boss man's won. But first off, me and all my Hulkamaniacs, we're looking at the Royal Rumble as the resurrection of Hulkamania, man. Oh, yeah, Hulkamania lives. Oh, yeah, Hulkamania's running wild. And you better believe the Hulkster rules, brother. But if somebody like the big boss man gets in my way, I'm going to give him a lifelong sentence of Hulkamania. Even if his partner, the Bad Akeem, gets in my way, I'll press him over my head and throw him out of the ring. We got the Heenan family. We got 7'4", 565 pounds Andre the Giant. But I got a lot of things going for me, Mean Gene. I got the 3 demandments for a foundation, the training, the prayers, the vitamins, brother. And with all my little Hulksters watching my back, I don't care if it's dog eat dog in there. I don't care if it's every man for himself, because the deck is stacked in my favor. And with all my little Hulksters watching my back, I predict victory for Hulkamania.
All right, at the risk of sounding negative, Hulk Hogan, what if you and your mega power partner, the Macho Man Randy Savage, in this competition where there are no partners, what if the two of you happen to collide?
Well, you know, I've thought about every given situation, Mean Gene. I've thought about what would happen if this happens and what would happen if that happens. But if the Macho Man, the WWF champion, happens to end up in the ring with me, the Hulkster brother, I kind of feel sorry for him, Mean Gene. Oh, he's a friend, yeah. Yes, I love him like a brother, and we're both guided by the same manager. But when it comes down to who rules in the WWF, who is the real champion, I guess if it comes down to me and the Macho Man, he's gonna find out real quick that the Hulkster's never been beaten. I've got the largest arms in the world, and yes, Macho Man, I am still called the champ by all my Hulkamaniacs. What are they gonna do when the largest arms in the world rumble on through?
Oh, what more can you say? Gorilla Monsoon, let's go back to you.
The Hulkster indeed is ready, Jesse. No question in my mind. He's fired up. Everybody's ready, Gorilla. Not just him.
All right, there you hear it. Mean Gene Okerlund questioning Ted DiBiase about the earlier shenanigans between he and the Slickster, the Doctor of Style. Brother DiBiase says, when you're as wealthy as he is, you can be as lucky as you want to be. Gotta love that. Sean Mooney, meanwhile, standing by with members of the Heenan family, the ones involved in the Rumble matchup. Of course, led by the Brain, but also Andre the Giant and the Brainbusters there. Andre proclaiming that he will win the matchup and warns the Brainbusters to stay out of his way. While Andre cutting his promo, though, we can visibly see Arn Anderson whispering to Tully Blanchard as they continue to look over at the Giant, alluding us to believe that maybe the Brainbusters plotting against the eighth wonder of the world. Nice added little touch there by the Brainbusters in this every man for himself event. And then from there, of course, you heard it, Hulk Hogan there with Mean Gene. As this is it, the time is here. Hogan talks about the potential of facing off with the Twin Towers as part of the Rumble match. But then Mean Gene brings up the Macho Man, fellow Mega Power. Hogan says that Randy Savage will have to find out that the Hulkster has never been beaten, brother, and that his Hulkamaniacs still call him the champion. That was a pretty heelish comment to make there, directed at his buddy, the Macho Man. But then again, Hogan, always the asshole in most of his feuds against his former friends. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But it is now time, guys, for the Royal Rumble. And that line used to send chills right down my spine. And what more can you say? It's the frickin' Royal Rumble. 30 guys going at it. Pairings we thought we'd never see. And man, was I pumped. As we've talked about on here in the past, I was never the big Hulk Hogan guy. Going into this pay-per-view, I was actually rooting for the Big Boss Man or the Macho Man. Quietly hoping somehow the Ultimate Warrior would even sneak into the matchup. But after the vignettes on the show, I was expecting Ted DiBiase to buy himself a win here. Get back into the good graces of the main event slot. And you got to be pumped too, because the Royal Rumble, I always love the fact that we could possibly see the start of potential WrestleMania matches. We see current rivals getting their hands on each other as well during this time period, and some of the younger guys getting a chance to get noticed.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for the Royal Rumble!
As we go down to ringside, we see the Fink, Howard Finkel, out there explaining the rules of the Royal Rumble match. You guys know it by now. 30 men, everybody draws a number. They enter in that order. We kick things off with number 1 and 2 in the ring, and every 2 minutes thereafter, another man enters. That will continue until all 30 men have entered. The only way to be eliminated, over the top rope and out to the floor, until there's one man remaining, and he will be declared the winner of the Royal Rumble. And those rules, again, man, chills down my spine, because it is now time, indeed, for the Royal Rumble match. And now, let us all find out who drew number 1.
And now, introducing the man who pulled earlier, number 1, co-holder of the World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Championship from Demolition.
It's Axe! Axe got number 1! Well, I'll tell you what, if anybody got number 1 and could survive 30 numbers, this guy might be the one that could do it. Boy, you can say that again. Co-holder of the World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Championship. Tough guys. This guy is high on my list of tough guys. It'll be interesting who will be number 2.
Wow, he wasn't lying when he said he was going to have a long night. Demolition Axe, one half the tag team champions out there first. Hate to see who draws number 2. And to show you just how unpredictable the Royal Rumble match can be, let's see who's in that unlucky position to take on Axe.
And now, the man who pulled number 2 at random from parts unknown, the co-holder
I can't
of the
believe
World
it!
Wrestling Federation Tag Team
Smash!
Championship from Demolition, Smash!
I don't believe it! The World Wrestling Federation Tag Team Champions are going to go at each other, Gorilla. They're going to have to. This is every man for himself. Oh, look at them. And they are going at each other. It's amazing thing what'll happen, what money will do to anything.
Wow, you've got to be kidding me. Demolition Smash draws number 2. It is Axe and Smash, the tag team champions. Gonna have to go at it here right at the beginning of the matchup. Unbelievable. Talk about a huge pop. I can't even begin here in 2025 to tell you what this meant back in the 1989, even in the 1990s when I would go back and watch this renting the videotape. And yes, even today, very cool to see this unfold, but back then, my goodness, nothing quite like it as the tag team champions. Demolition don't even wait to let the crowd soak it in. They have a 2-second stare down before they start tearing into each other, before the bell can even sound. So cool at the time, guys. And honestly, still a top 10 Rumble moment for me. You never saw shit like this back then, and for it to be Demolition, just enhanced it times 10. As we see Axe pound away on Smash, then Smash going to return the favor there. Axe cutting Smash off and tossing him over the top rope. But Smash landing on the apron, climbing back inside. From there, Demolition Smash working over partner Axe in the corner as the fans begin to count down to number 3, who is the 8th wonder of the world, Andre the Giant. You got to be kidding me. As Andre slowly heads towards the ring, Demolition stop going at it. They back up, and they rush the Giant. And as soon as he comes into the ring with a double clothesline, Andre stumbling around, taking a bump. Awkward bump. Looks like Andre accidentally might have fell there, but Demolition on top there. So for 2 minutes, we see Axe and Smash going at it hard, and immediately they pair off against the 8th wonder of the world here, Andre the Giant. Certainly a big threat, and you couldn't pick a better trio to kick things off here and tell them the story. Demolition working over Andre, but the Giant begins to fight back. It's number 4, Mr. Perfect. Kurt Hennig makes his way to the ring. Now all 3 men, Hennig and the Demos, try and go after the Giant, but Andre fighting them all off. And the Giant even managing to toss Smash out for our first elimination. Well, that was a little early. Poor Demolition Smash. Thanks for coming, Barry Darso. Now it's Hennig and Axe going back to work on the Giant. And once again, Andre down on his keister. Axe whipping Mr. Perfect chest first into the corner. Little Bret Hart bump there, which allows Andre time to make the comeback. Dropping Axe and Hennig, as you might suspect, taking an awesome bump off of an Andre headbutt. I think he's still back rolling somewhere. Then in comes number 5, Rugged Ronnie Garvin, come right in to help Kurt Hennig and Demolition Axe try and eliminate Andre, but the Giant gets tied in the ropes, and he still somehow manages to fight all 3 men off while tied in the ropes, guys. Garvin then making the mistake of untying Andre, the Giant then continuing to beat down all 3 men as he sits on Demolition Axe, poor Bill Eadie, and then gives Mr. Perfect a punch that is sold perfectly. What else? Meanwhile, number 6 in is Greg the Hammer Valentine. And now we've got 4 guys going after the Giant. Again, Andre fighting off all 4 men and manages to hip lock. That's a big hip. Ronnie Garvin right out over the top rope for the second elimination in the matchup. Andre eliminating 2 men thus far. Everyone left, though, goes after the Giant one by one, and they all fail miserably one by one until number 7, Jake the Snake Roberts, comes darting out to get his hands on the Giant. No love lost between Jake and Andre here. The Snake barely gets in the ring before the Giant has him up against the ropes, choking the life out of Jake Roberts, who might have got off a couple of shots, but didn't even seem to faze Andre as he chokes down Jake the Snake Roberts with his singlet strap. In comes number 8, Outlaw Ron Bass, who heads to the ring. Bass freshly shaven bald here after a hair versus hair loss to one Brutus the Barber on Saturday night's main event. And back to the corner, Andre, after choking Jake out for a good 2 minutes straight, the Giant eliminates the Snake like a piece of garbage, just chucks him over as if he's nothing. And if you're keeping score, that's 3 eliminated in all by Andre. Jake never stood a chance here, walking into the lion's den of the 8th wonder of the world. And for the next couple of minutes, Axe going to pair off with the Outlaw in one corner, Andre working over the Hammer and Mr. Perfect in another corner, when out comes number 9, Shawn Michaels, sprinting to the ring, one half of the Rockers, and goes right after Ron Bass. Meanwhile, Axe has Hennig up against the ropes, taking a big swing, but Perfect ducks and backdrops Demolition Axe out of the ring for an elimination. Both Demolition already eliminated. Bit of a shocker there to see the youngster Mr. Perfect taking out Demolition Axe, but I think Bill Eadie did a good 14 plus minutes into the matchup, so nothing to be ashamed of there. And fans can now take notice of Mr. Perfect. That was no fluke. Curt Hennig eliminating one half of the tag team champions. Meanwhile, in a great sequence, Curt Hennig dumping Shawn Michaels over the top rope, but Shawn skinning the cat back inside goes to town on Mr. P before drop kicking Curt Hennig upside down backwards out of the ring, but Hennig somehow managing to hang on to that top rope. Very lucky there, Curt. Very risky spot there. Curt Hennig getting dumped backwards over the top rope in perfect fashion, but manages to hold on. His number 10 in is Bushwhacker Butch. Butch Miller making his in-ring WWF TV debut as part of this Royal Rumble event. But wait a minute. Bushwhacker Luke, called his number a good number, mate. Well, either Luke's an idiot or he's a genius for conning Butch into swapping numbers. But walking out only a few steps behind Butch to the ring is Jake Roberts, the already eliminated Snake, returning to the ring, but he's not alone this time. Damian in hand, Jake Roberts back to ringside, sliding Damian into the center of the ring as the entire field backs away, surrounding the Snake back, and nobody wants a part of Damian. And Andre takes one look at the Snake and eliminates himself over the top rope and out to the floor. Andre the Giant has been eliminated. Courtesy will give the assist to Damian. Well, it's a good thing Andre didn't have another one of those heart attacks, if you will, or nobody would have been able to pick him up and throw him out. Meanwhile, Jake Roberts once again forced to leave the ring. Damian taken away, and the action soon resumes, but a heavy hitter. Andre the Giant eliminating 3 of the 4 men thus far in the matchup. Well, before his elimination, he now too is eliminated. But the action, as I said, resumes. Shawn Michaels whipping Ron Bass right into the famous Curt Hennig axe punch, made famous by Larry the Axe Hennig. Number 11, here comes the Honky Tonk Man, the former IC champion, to the ring. Meanwhile, Shawn Michaels, Curt Hennig whipped into each other, and with the Hammer already in the ring, Honky Tonk Man now in here. We've got the brand new tag team of Double Trouble trying to eliminate Shawn Michaels. And to prove it's every man for himself, we even see Curt Hennig going after the Honky Tonk Man, and the crowd eating it up. Boy, those Rumble banners are really starting to shake now, rumbling back and forth above the matchup. Meanwhile, back to the ring, number 12, Arriba, Tito Santana, coming out a winner. Tito goes right after Curt Hennig with a big backdrop. In the Royal Rumble? Oh my. A moment later, it's the Outlaw backdropping Shawn Michaels as well. You guys better watch out. Somebody's going to get a broken ankle. All these big spots going on in the middle of the Rumble matchup. Then it's the Outlaw and Curt Hennig double suplex on Shawn Michaels. Damn, there was some dangerous shit going on for so many guys in the ring. Speaking of dangerous, number 13, Bad News Brown. And what a perfect number for the loner to draw here as we see Bushwhacker Butch and Tito Santana team up to eliminate the Honky Tonk Man. Wow, has Honky fallen down the totem pole? My goodness, not only eliminated by Butch and Tito Santana, but with very little fanfare, unceremoniously, maybe 4 minutes or so of in-ring action here for Honky Tonk Man. Meanwhile, his partner, Greg Valentine, remains. Shawn Michaels comes off the top rope onto Ron Bass and Bad News Brown at the same time, but moments later, it's the Rocker, Michaels, in all sorts of trouble with Valentine, and Brown has him hanging upside down over the top rope. But what luck, because number 14, in comes the other half of the Rockers. It's Marty Jannetty. Now we have tag team specialists in the ring there. Bass going right after Marty, but Shawn Michaels soon going to join in for a Rocker double drop kick, sending the Outlaw over the top rope and out to the floor. That may be the last time we see the Outlaw used in proper fashion here in the company. He's only got a couple months left before he's gone from the World Wrestling Federation, and he's gone for the Rumble right now, courtesy of a Rocker double drop kick. And also in the midst of the action, Tito Santana landing his patented flying forearm on Greg Valentine. Mr. Perfect also still in there. Has to be at least 22 minutes at this point for the perfect one, as in comes number 15, the reigning undisputed WWF champion, the Macho Man Randy Savage at the halfway point. In comes, the Macho Madness. Savage comes rushing into the ring like a madman, goes right after Bad News Brown, who he's clearly had his issues with in recent weeks. Fevers, Lots of action all around, people trading off in pairings until number 16, one half of the Brainbusters, Arn Anderson, makes his way to the ring. And we now have, count up, 9 guys in there, about a third of the field. Well, I spoke too soon. Macho Man quickly eliminating Greg Valentine just a second before Arn Anderson gets to the ring. And the hammer is gone. So now we have 8 men in the ring and 8 men eliminated. And with their recent issues, Arn Anderson and Shawn Michaels going right at it. Nice super kick from Michaels, takes Arn down. And then from there, we see an unlikely combination of the Macho Man and Arn Anderson teaming up to catch Michaels with a double back elbow. And Savage and Arn eliminate Rocker Shawn Michaels. Really good spot there. And naturally, Jannetty going to go after Arn for revenge at that point. But number 17 just happens to be Tully Blanchard, the other half of the Brainbusters, trying back-to-back numbers, much like Demolition. All right, Jannetty gets the better of Tully just for a moment, but runs into that patented Arn Anderson spinebuster. Nobody does it better. And the Brainbusters take over on Marty Jannetty. Arn and Tully forcing Marty out over the top rope. Jannetty fights to hold on, even hooking his toes over the top rope, but the Busters do a great job of making a basic elimination look like a tough battle. Tully Blanchard finally able to eliminate Marty Jannetty after a struggle, and just in time because number 18 is Hulk Hogan. Hogan comes right in, saving the Macho Man from Mr. Perfect by eliminating Curt Hennig, immediately running him across the ring, dumping him over the top rope, a spot we would see repeated next year at the Rumble as well. Then things get in a cluster against the ropes, and the Macho Man and Arn Anderson wind up dumping Tito Santana. That's, if you're keeping score, 2 eliminations by Arn and Macho Man working together. Tito Santana out of this one is number 19, and Bushwhacker Luke, the other half of the Bushwhackers. It looks like Butch probably now realizing he's not supposed to be in the ring anymore. We haven't seen Butch do a whole lot recently. And Luke and Butch having no interaction as Luke enters the ring. They kind of ignore each other. And the moment Luke gets in the ring, Butch goes and finds Bad News Brown in a far corner, and Bad News dumping Butch with what looks like help from the Hulkster dude. Hulk Hogan trying to sneak in an elimination anywhere he can, as the Mega Powers now join forces, double teaming Bad News Brown momentarily until Arn Anderson going to break that up. It's Bad News and Randy Savage pairing off against the ropes while the Brainbusters double team the Hulkster. Hogan, though, launching Tully in a press slam down across the top rope. Ugh, looked like it about took his head off. Nasty spot there. Hogan kind of sloppy, picking Tully up in a press position and then dropping him. All kinds of awkward across that top rope, but here's something you don't see every day. A Bushwhacker trying his hand at Hulk Hogan. Now there's a sight. Hulk Hogan, though, with a big boot on Arn Anderson as he makes his big comeback. And here comes number 20, the Birdman, Coco Beware, where enters the ring and immediately blending right in after throwing just a couple of drop kicks. Coco just pairing off into the corner. Not a whole lot here for the Birdman. It's Arn Anderson climbing to the top rope. but Hulk Hogan there to slam him off. And here's something else you don't see every day. Now it's Bushwhacker Luke and Koko Beware. Double teaming Hulk Hogan. It's so lopsided, it's really almost hilarious to look at. Almost. Hogan getting fed up with the Jobber Express here breaks both of their eyes simultaneously. Hogan then dumping Koko Beware for the matchup just as quick as he came. And a few moments later, it's the Hulkster also eliminating Bushwhacker Luke, much the same way. Thanks for coming. Meanwhile, I realize that Luke's been in there, 3 minutes now or maybe longer, meaning this may be the best year Luke ever has in a Royal Rumble match. I'm not so sure. But the action continues on while Bad News Brown has Randy Savage teetering over the top ropes. The Brainbusters again attacking, double teaming Hulk Hogan. Arn and Tully trying for a double clothesline, but apparently Hulk Hogan twice as powerful as he runs right through their clothesline and drags both Brainbusters backwards a good 16, 18 feet. And Hulk Hogan double clotheslines both Arn and Tully out of the ring at the same time. The crowd going absolutely ape shit for the spot, and rightfully so. I'm no Hogan fan, certainly not at age 9, but you got to give him credit for that elimination. Give all three men credit. Arn and Tully made it look great, as only they can do. And Hulk Hogan just running wild here. At the same time, the elimination of the Brainbusters, out comes the Warlord. And in climbs the Warlord, one half of the Powers of Pain. And out goes the Warlord, courtesy of Hulk Hogan. Big clothesline. Wow. I think there was about 2 seconds I clocked that in. Thanks for coming, Warlord. Master Fuji not going to be happy with that one. The Warlord getting up on the apron, turning to the fans, flexing those double guns, entering the ring, but Hogan ready for him, and right over the top rope of the clothesline. Warlord, again, thanks for coming. Hulk Hogan on a roll, so he walks straight over to dump Bad News Brown out next. There's only one problem, Hulk. Bad News had Randy Savage teetering over the ropes as well. So when the Hulkster dumped Brown, he inadvertently eliminated the Macho Man as well. Inadvertently, my ass. That's who Hogan was. He even said in his promo earlier, guys, remember? Naturally, this doesn't sit well with the Macho Man, who immediately storms back into the ring, shoving Hogan, sticking his finger in the Hulkster's face, slapping Hogan at one point. Accusations made here by the Macho Man, and rightfully so. Luckily, Hulk Hogan is the only legal man left in the ring at this time, just so happens. So the two mega powers are allotted this time to hash out their differences. Randy Savage fuming, steaming from the elimination. Hulk Hogan swearing it was an accident, brother. Macho Man, though, pointing at Hogan again, and Hulk swatting away Macho's hand this time. Uh-oh. Things are about to get very interesting. There be trouble in the Mega Powers camp, methinks. But then out comes the lovely Miss Elizabeth to ruin our fun. Miss Liz going to get in between her two boys, pleading with them not to fight. But Savage is hot. Liz trying to calm him down, convincing him to extend his hand to the Hulkster. And being the ass that Hulk Hogan is, he has to think about it first before he accepts the handshake. Imagine that, Hulk Hogan dumping the Macho Man, then it's Hulk who has to think about shaking the hand of Randy Savage. What a douche. And as the clock starts the countdown, Hulk Hogan finally shaking the hand of Randy Savage. And meanwhile, we learn that number 22 just happens to be the Big Boss Man, one half of the newly named Twin Towers, the former prison guard, heading to the ring. The Mega Powers shaking hands again. Randy Savage looking to wish Hulk Hogan luck. And we're back to the action. Wow, they did all of that. That Hogan shitstorm happened in a matter of 3 minutes' time. Unbelievable what we're doing here. Great storytelling thus far in this match, and I do mean thus far. Hulk Hogan going to go to town to the Boss Man as he enters the ring. But the Boss Man changing it all when he reverses an Irish whip, hitting a big avalanche on the Hulkster in the corner, followed by a nice pile driver, dumping the former champ on his head. Boss Man, though, going to miss a big splash. Hogan popping up to take charge. But here comes number 23. It is the African Dream, Akeem. Wow, so Demolition, Brainbusters, now the Twin Towers, all back to back. And you're telling me that, let's just say something happened, something shady took place between Ted DiBiase and the Doctor of Style. You're telling me that DiBiase was so upset with one of these numbers, 22 or 23? I hope he didn't pay much to switch around, as soon as Akeem gets in the ring, though, Hogan beating the crap out of both Twin Towers now. Makes sense. The Hulkster going to make sure to body slam Akeem, body slam the big boss man. Finally, though, the Tower is able to overpower Hogan, beating him down, hitting him with a double avalanche in the corner. And just like that, unbelievably, the Twin Towers eliminate Hulk Hogan to the shock of many, yours truly included. Couldn't believe it when I saw the crowd almost in a stunned silence there as the boss man and Akeem eliminate the Hulkster. But Hogan, doing what he does best, getting pissed, sore loser that he is, pulling the boss man out under the bottom rope, continuing the fight on the floor. Akeem comes out to save the boss man when number 24, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, heads out to the ring. What are the odds of all these numbers being drawn in this order? What luck. As Beefer going to head to ringside, jumping on the back of Akeem, the Twin Towers and the Barber climbing back in the ring to continue the matchup, Hogan being forced to leave ringside. But as the big boss man comes running off the ropes to hit the Barber, Hogan pulling the top rope down, eliminating the big boss man. You've got to be fucking kidding me. But the crowd loved it. Personally, I thought it made Hulk Hogan look like a whiny bitch. Of course, he'd do something similar in the 92 Royal Rumble, and the fans let him have it there. But this is 1989. Hogan can do no wrong. And while Beefcake and Akeem now battle in the ring, it's Hogan and the Boss Man brawling all the way to the backstage area. And I got to tell you, 9-year-old me was pissed off. I've said it before, I was never a Hulkamaniac, but this might have been the turning point where I really started to dislike Hulk Hogan. But the match goes on nevertheless. Beefcake and Akeem in the ring. Look out now, number 25. It's the Red Rooster, newly turned babyface. Red Rooster, poultry in motion, people. And listen to the Rooster Boosters in the crowd go mild. No, seriously, he called his fans Rooster Boosters. How did that not get over? So it's the Rooster and Beefcake trying to dump Akeem, but that ain't happening, guys. It's number 26 now. The other half of the Powers of Pain, it's the Barbarian. Looks like he's going to help the babyfaces eliminate Akeem, but instead, Barb beats on all three men. He can do that. Barbarian hoping to right the wrong of the Warlord's elimination earlier tonight. Just 2 seconds time, Barb beat that in no time flat. It's Barbarian and Brutus Beefcake over in the corner, while Akeem landing the big 747 splash, Air Africa, down across the breast of the Red Rooster. Anybody order a chicken patty, guys? Akeem then doing a little dancing over top of Terry Taylor as in comes number 27. It's the returning Big John Studd. This is Studd's first match in the WWF, as far as we know, in a couple of years. I believe he did a TV taping prior to this. It's going to air soon, but Studd's first match on TV in 2 years' time, and he goes right after the big guy, Akeem. Studd even shoving the Rooster out of the way, going right after the African Dream. In comes number 28, the Mighty Hercules, to the delight of fans. Herc comes right in, helping Beefcake work over the Barbarian. Meanwhile, John Studd and Akeem staying married to each other for much, if not all, of this time frame. Then in comes number 29, another return to the company, Rick Martel, formerly of one half of the Tag Team Champions, Strikeforce last time we saw him back in the summer of 1988. Rick Martel back rushing right in to get in on Studd and Akeem showdown. But again, Big John quickly putting an end to that, sending Martel on his merry way. It seems like John Studd didn't want anyone getting involved in the crap he was doing with Akeem, which was nothing, just kind of sitting around in the corner, but I'm okay with that. You guys just stay over there. As the clock winds down for number 30, there's no doubt in my mind who it is. Number 30 is indeed the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. And Gorilla Monsoon knows now that some money talked for DiBiase to end up with this number. After all, Ted said it himself earlier tonight. When you're as wealthy as the $1 Million Man, you can be as lucky as you want. And as I look back with numbers 1 through 22, all eliminated from the matchup, Akeem now becomes the de facto Iron Man. Right now, after drawing the number 23, the final 8 men in the match also happen to be the final 8 numbers to come out. As Ted DiBiase pairing off with the Red Rooster, Terry Taylor hitting Ted with a big 5-arm, a Terry Taylor special right there. DiBiase, though, fighting back, sending the Rooster into the corner hard, and Terry doing a flip upside down in the corner, Outlaw Ric Flair, falling out to the apron and taking a bump to the floor. DiBiase has eliminated the Crimson Cock, or the Red Rooster. I guess Terry Taylor going to be eating crow after that elimination tonight. As John Studd still paired off with Akeem some 10 minutes later, and And I don't think Big John has even attempted to interact with anyone else or perform an actual wrestling move. It's Hercules coming after the $1 Million Man, who tried to purchase Herc as a slave just a few months earlier because, well, that's legal and all, at least in professional wrestling. John Studd finally going to pair off with someone else, the Barbarian. That could be interesting. Meanwhile, Brutus Beefcake jumping on the back of Hercules, locking in the sleeper hold on the Mighty One, and as Hercules staggers towards the ropes, DiBiase, with a little assist from Barbarian, coming up from behind, dumping both Hercules and Beefcake out of the match. Blame the Barber for that double elimination. Beefcake going for the sleeper in the Royal Rumble, and the sneaky $1 Million Man going to dump him from behind. Meanwhile, we're down to 5 guys as the Barbarian landing a power slam on Martel, while Akeem and DiBiase working over Big John Studd in the corner. Barbarian even going up top, landing his patented diving headbutt down onto Rick Martel. Barb going to try to clothesline Rick out of the ring, but Martel ducking and landing a dropkick. Sort of connects on Barbarian. Barb staggering over the top rope. Rick Martel coming over to help him out, dumping Barbarian from the ring. Powers of Pain both officially eliminated now from the Royal Rumble match, and that leaves us with the final 4. It is Akeem, Big John Studd, Rick Martel, and the $1 Million Man. And the action continues on. Akeem missing a big avalanche in the corner. Rick Martel coming back with a running body block, but Akeem catching him in midair with ease, dumping Martel out over the top rope and down to the floor. And just like that, we're down to 3. It's Big John Studd against Ted DiBiase and Akeem. Yes, I know it's supposed to be every man for himself, but again, looks like money's talking here. Keep in mind, Slick had already sold one of the Twin Towers numbers to Ted DiBiase, so it was likely that Akeem would take the walk for cash should it come down to he and the $1 Million Man. And so DiBiase and Akeem immediately teaming up against Studd here. Akeem holding Studd for DiBiase to work him over. And then the $1 Million Man instructing Akeem on what to do next. Akeem working over Studd for Ted DiBiase. Akeem hitting Studd with a big avalanche splash in the corner, but DiBiase wants to see it one more time. And as Akeem rushes in for a second avalanche, Studd grabbing Teddy, pulling him in front of him, forcing Akeem to avalanche both men. And I never understood this, but somehow it doesn't affect the guy on the other side, Studd, but instead sandwiching Ted DiBiase. Down goes the $1 Million Man. And as Akeem begins to stumble away, checking on Teddy, Studd going to club him in the back with a forearm shot. And Akeem just kind of jumps over the top rope. You can say Studd eliminated Akeem, but it looked to me like Akeem eliminated himself. What a shitty way to go for the African Dream. But we are now down to 2. DiBiase now realizing he's all alone with Big John Studd in the ring, even offering to buy Studd off. But Big John doesn't want any part of Teddy's money. DiBiase goes to the eyes of Studd, then goes up to the middle rope. But John going to grab him in a chokehold, driving him back into the corner. Great bump by DiBiase. Do I need to tell you guys that by now? Ted then trying to boot Studd, but Big John catching the foot of DiBiase. Teddy pleading, please let me go, but John doesn't want to hear it. Studd spinning DiBiase around, sending him back into the corner again before slamming him down to the mat. Big slam by Big John Studd, who is now toying with DiBiase at this point. And now, doesn't look like number 30 was worth the money spent as Studd throws DiBiase across the ring with a nice butterfly suplex. Never seen him do that before, but it looked good. Might be the only thing that looks good here from Big John Studd, who follows that up with a sloppy-looking gut wrench throw. John doesn't even bother to take the bump to make it a suplex, just kind of tosses DiBiase over to the side. Clothesline from there by Studd sees DiBiase wind up doing his back bump into a headstand. Love that bump from the $1 Million Man. Studd says, that's it. And he grabs Ted DiBiase, flinging him out of the ring over the top rope, out to the floor. Big John Studd eliminating the $1 Million Man to win the Royal Rumble. Total time of the match, 1 hour, 4 minutes, and 53 seconds. Your winner, Big John Studd. Look out, Studd. Virgil. Bodyguard Virgil attacking Big John from behind before he even has time to celebrate. Studd quickly, though, mauling over Virgil. Great bumps there by Verge, who is then, quote-unquote, eliminated as the unofficial 31st man in the match. Big John Studd even tossing Virgil out over the top rope, who was the only manager to remain ringside for the match because he wasn't a manager. He was a bodyguard, so it was all legal. Again, I think some money talk, but here it is, your winner, Big John Studd here tonight. Wow, we were doing pretty good there until around number 23. I got to say, there's a lot of great storytelling, a lot of great booking. A major upgrade from the 1988 version for sure. They started working in storylines and spots in the match, which is a big part of the match flow. They also began having babyface against babyface, heel against heel. It truly felt every man for himself here. I thought Ted DiBiase buying the final number only to be eliminated added a lot of suspense and storytelling to the finish of the match for the viewers at home and in the arena. Mr. Perfect breaking Bret Hart's Iron Man record from 1988 by just about 3 minutes. Curt Hennig lasting about 28 minutes here in this one, which means Mr. Perfect was in for half the match. But you also have to take into consideration that Bret Hart did 25 minutes plus in a Rumble that was a third smaller. Still a great showing here from Curt Hennig moving into 1989. And if it felt like Hulk Hogan threw out half the roster, it's because he did. Well, more like about a third of the participants, but still a bit much, even for Hulkamania, dude. I guess they had to give him that since he agreed to lose, brother. And, I kind of touched on this already a little bit. I thought they could have separated some of the teams a little, notably Demolition. We're cool with Axe and Smash coming out 1 and 2, but then the Brainbusters and the Twin Towers all coming out back to back. Just felt like lazy booking. And even though I'm not a big Hulk Hogan fan, I thought they did a good job booking the whole segment of the match where Hulkamania runs wild, accidentally dumping mega partner Macho Man, the arguing, while the ring is clear. Then out comes the big boss man, who was also currently feuding with Hulk Hogan, followed by Boss Man's tag team partner Akeem. And then it was Hogan's brother Brudai out to save the day. Booking a segment like that would set the tone for Rumbles to come. The only thing I didn't care for was Hulk Hogan pulling the Boss Man out. Then again, I think Hulk got away with doing a lot of heelish things back in the day. Also wanted to say, when I was forced to go back and watch this carefully, as I did this time around, Shawn Michaels and Curt Hennig really stole the show for me in the first half of the matchup. I didn't realize how hard they worked in this Rumble until now, especially Shawn Michaels. Curt Hennig, I remember the bumps and things like that, but both guys did a stellar job in the first half to keep the Rumble flowing. Meanwhile, Andre the Giant, given a workload, and handled it here tonight. I was pretty impressed by what Andre did. A lot more than John Studd. But hindsight being 2020 here, I don't understand the logic of John Studd going over. I know Vince initially had big plans for John when he came back, but he put on quite a few stinkers with Andre, Akeem, King Haku on the house shows here in 89. And the match really slowed down after Hogan and Boss Man were eliminated. Big John Studd did not bring it back up. But live and learn. Beggars can't be choosers. I'm nitpicking now. Enjoyed plenty of the matchup. And for those of you at home with the Coliseum video, wait, there's more. Coliseum video exclusive. Mean Gene Okerlund standing backstage right now with the WWF Champion, the Macho Man, Randy Savage.
We're back in the locker room area. What we've seen in the Royal Rumble, I cannot believe. Macho Man Randy Savage. It looked like there was going to be a showdown between the Mega Powers, you and Hulk Hogan.
You got to expect the unexpected when you get into the squared circle. Showdown type of situation. I didn't think that there was going to be one, but obviously, Elizabeth, what happened was I was eliminated. Not because I wasn't the better man, but because I was a victim of circumstances. And a man in my position can't afford to look ridiculous. I'm the World Wrestling Federation champion, Gene Okerlund.
All right, just a moment, Macho Man. Elizabeth, you were put in the unenviable position of being a manager for both of these two participants in the Royal Rumble. You tried to get between the two men. What was going through your mind?
Gene, it was just a misunderstanding, and I think it's all cleared up now.
Yeah, it's
Wait a
all
minute, misunderstanding?
Misunderstanding. I'm obviously the one that misunderstood the situation because I shook Hulk Hogan's hand, like the champion that I am. I wish him the best of luck, and I'm sure, what do you think, Elizabeth? He wishes me the best of luck, huh?
I'm sure he does,
I'm
Randy.
sure Hulk Hogan wishes me
I
the
think
best of
this
luck.
is more than just a slight misunderstanding.
Nope.
I think that...
No, Mega Powers, Mega Powers, on and on and on and on, forever and ever and ever. Nothing stops the Mega Powers. Isn't that right, Elizabeth?
All right, so I thank you very much, the Macho Man.
I'm the World
Lady.
Wrestling Federation champion. It should have been the king of the Royal Rumble. Shouldn't I have been, Gene Okerlund? Shouldn't I have been?
The Macho Man and Elizabeth. Let's get back to Jesse and Gorilla Monsoon. I see that.
Thank you, Mean Gene. Well, Jess, it appears that everything is in super order for the Mega Powers.
I'm not so sure about that, Gorilla. I said it before. I smell a rat.
You smell a rat. You saw the handshake, didn't you?
Talk is cheap,
you saw
and so
the
are
embrace
handshakes.
Oh, please.
All right, there it was Mean Gene in the back to interview the Macho Man about the altercation with Hulk Hogan earlier in the Rumble matchup. Randy Savage didn't think it was going to come to blows. He says that he's the better man, but tonight he was simply a victim of circumstance. Miss Elizabeth calling the altercation a simple misunderstanding, Gene. Savage reminds Mean Gene that the two men shook hands at the end of the day. Okerlund at this point believes it's more than a misunderstanding, but the Macho Man standing his ground here. Mega powers forever, yeah. So says the Macho Man. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. As we wrap up this first half of part 2 of the Rumble review, I looked at the buy rate here for the pay-per-view, 165,000 buys. That is not a good buy rate. Of course, the first of its kind, this Rumble 89 event would go on to be one of the biggest events of every year moving forward, but not so much here in 89, the trial run. One of the lowest numbers, maybe the lowest number, I don't know about of all time without doing a little research, but certainly for quite a while to come. If not, again, ever. Only 165,000 buys. Wow. Royal Rumble, though, not a bad event whatsoever in general. Lots of great storytelling. One thing we got in this Rumble match that would evaporate, though, rather quickly was the opportunity to watch several of the guys draw their numbers. And I liked the little hints they dropped in their reactions when pulling those numbers. I felt that something this simple really made the event feel more realistic, authentic. For this to be the initial 30-man Royal Rumble, I thought they did a fine job with the storytelling. They told what they needed to. The flow of the match wasn't bad at all, at least until near the end. A little slower at the end. But once Hogan was gone, it felt like it was dragging with little star power involved. And we were just waiting for Ted DiBiase to come in at that point and tell his story. What sells me on it, though, is the unpredictability of it all, especially with the no world title Road to WrestleMania deal involved. And yes, I could have done without some of the undercard stuff, namely the superposed down, but especially the ladies match. By the way, can you guys believe they left the ladies match on the Coliseum video but edited out Harley Race and Haku completely? Unbelievable. Speaking of the battle for the crown, I thought that match was fine on the undercard. Not much crowd reaction for it, but the guys never relented. 6-man tag was the perfect example of a pay-per-view opener in my books. Fast action, lots of playing to the crowd for a response. I feel like if it had been one fall, the action would have been even more fluid. So if you can make it through the middle ground of the pay-per-view, the pose down, the ladies match, with the rest of the pay-per-view fairly solid, and we get the whole Hogan-Savage showdown as a little bonus there in the storytelling of the Rumble matchup. So in general, just had a great time kicking off the first pay-per-view, the first big event, Supercard of 1989 here at the World Wrestling Federation. And as we wrap up the review portion of this show, we're going to take a quick WrestleCopia timeout, and on the other side, we're going to be talking to my brother Jesse, special guest returning once again to talk more childhood memories, this time of the 1989 Royal Rumble, right after this.
Relive the glory days of Memphis wrestling with the Retro Wrestling Review USWA podcast. Each week, we go back in time to review USWA Championship Wrestling from the 1990s, episode by episode. Join us for watch-alongs, behind-the-scenes stories, and exclusive interviews with people who were there and lived it. Whether you grew up watching it or you're discovering it for the first time, this podcast is your ringside seat to Memphis wrestling history. It's all a part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. Listen now at USWApodcast.com.
Hey guys, Ray Russell back to talk to you about all the new and exciting audio and video podcasts we've been putting together over at patreon.com/WrestleCopia. As a self-funded brand, this entire ship is powered by our patrons. It's your support that keeps all of these wonderful shows going here at WrestleCopia. And with that said, I wanted to mention that we now have 3 major tiers with tons of Patreon-exclusive next-level content for our Patreon supporters. And it all starts with the $5 all-access tier, which gets you early access to many of the weekly podcasts, at least a dozen monthly digital downloads for your viewing and reading pleasure, the insanely detailed show notes for the Wrestling Memory Grenade Regional Wrestling, and the OG Monday Warfare podcast, plus random bonus video drops, archived old-school audio watch-alongs from the early years of the brand. And if that's not all, the brand new Patreon-exclusive podcast, Ranting Raw, featuring yours truly, Ray Russell, completely uncensored, unfiltered, with honest takes, taking patron questions and addressing various topics from throughout wrestling history. It is a whole lot of fun wrapped under the All Access tier for only $5, but things get even hotter with the VIP Superfan tier. For just a few dollars more, you get everything already mentioned in the All Access tier, plus as part of the VIP tier, a whole new slew of videocast series where it's not just your typical watch-alongs. Sure, we laugh, we have fun, but we're also breaking down the history, the context, and the why behind what you're seeing. And as part of the VIP tier, you have access to Dan Gennety's Puro Resu Academy videocast, the Coliseum videocast with co-host Gene Jackson, and the Monday Warfare videocast, Raw vs. Nitro, breaking down the history of the Monday Night War. Plus, you also get the Memphis 1985 folder of goodies and all show notes for the Puro Academy podcast and Gene's retro review show. Lots to be had there at the VIP tier. But wait, there's more. For those WrestleCopia backers who crave even more from the brand, we bring you yet another level of content fit for a warrior, because it is indeed the ultimate tier, which gives you everything from the All Access Pass, everything from the VIP tier, plus you will receive access to the big ones video series featuring a lengthy look and discussion into some of the biggest pay-per-views, super shows, and other events from throughout wrestling history. It's also a great place to keep up with the big events that coincide with the Monday Warfare videocast and so many other big events from years gone by. You'll also have access to the newest big hit to the Copia brand. I'm talking about Regional Wrestling Unreal, the video series. Get ready for the next level in regional wrestling as we dissect territory history in video form. Watch along with us. But still, even more for your money, guys. You'll also receive access to the Treasure Chest, which offers patrons the unique opportunity to download and watch select rarities from wrestling history. And for those of you who are wondering what we offer, are contemplating joining a paid Patreon membership, or simply a curious lurker, a reminder there's a free tier at our Patreon that you can join as well. Remember, guys, no subscription, cancel any time, but I think you'll like the content that we're offering there for any budget you may have. And you can sign up right now, patreon.com/WrestleCopia, or look for the QR code where available. We appreciate your support in helping us pay the bills to keep the WrestleCopia podcast network running and enabling us to continue to bring you all the quality programming that we offer.
This is Wrestling Nostalgia, the podcast that dives into wrestling history. Hey, wrestling fans, I'm Dave Dynasty, and if you enjoy podcasts that are knowledgeable and history-driven, then Wrestling Nostalgia is for you. With great guests and fun interviews, there are over 200 episodes in our archives. We chat with several first-time guests and often cover topics not discussed on other podcasts. Look up Wrestling Nostalgia on your favorite podcast platform and visit all of our links at linktree/WrestlePod. That is linktr.ee/RASSLEPOD. And remember, wherever you go, whatever you do, be good, be safe, and keep on growing.
All right, guys, this is part two of the 1989 Royal Rumble review, the definitive edition, I'll have you know. And as promised at this point, we've wrapped up the first portion of the show, covered the pay-per-view now in full, but now it's time to have some real fun. Bring back on my brother Jesse to the program. Going to talk a little memory lane this week, go back in time and share his memories, our memories of this era and the 1989 Royal Rumble. So I got to ask that ever-important question. Are you ready to rumble, Jess?
Hey, brother. Absolutely. It's always a pleasure to get on here and talk wrestling with you, so thanks for having me.
Absolutely. One of our favorite pay-per-views of the year, the Royal Rumble, going all the way back to the first pay-per-view here. And I've mentioned it already in the past on the program, but this one was fun because, well, we didn't have to wait for the Coliseum video version. You actually had a neighbor who recorded this, and you were able to watch it not too long after the event.
Yeah, I mean, I remember it fondly. I think we were, talking about this the other day, but I don't know if it was like the very first WWE pay-per-view that I was ever, exposed to, soon after it happened. I think maybe I saw something at your house once upon a time, but yeah, it was crazy. Like, he brought it over. I don't remember him showing me any of the undercard matches. He just started it right off, number one, I heard Demolition's music. I'm like, sweet, man. And then number two, Demolition's music. I'm like, this is like the greatest thing ever, dude. Like, absolutely. I've said it a million times. Demolition at the time, one of my top 2 tag teams of all time. So just to see that, to get it started was just like mind blowing.
Yeah, we had to live through the struggle of the Coliseum videos back in the day, which up until right around shortly after Royal Rumble, maybe that was the final one where they chopped it to hell, right? And so, I mean, they would do that for WrestleManias because they would cut the 4 hours to the 3 hours, but up to this point, they were cutting the pay-per-views from like 2 hours and 45 minutes down to 2 hours. So they were taking out a lot of stuff in there. And so it took, years for some people to realize there was even a King Haku Harley Race match on the show because it's nowhere on the Coliseum video, nor is it ever mentioned on the Coliseum video. So yet they leave the Rockin' Robin and Judy Martin match intact, which still is mind-boggling because that was atrocious.
Yeah, I don't really have many comments on that match, except for I do recall thinking at a couple points in that match, it's like, did I accidentally put my screen on slow motion, or is that literally the speed at which they're wrestling? So, yeah, I don't really have a lot of comments on that one.
Yeah, going back and watching the undercard, it was like they kind of just slapped some things together. They did open with a hot match, 6-man tag match, couple of feuds. Duggan and Bravo were feuding, the Hearts and the Rougeos were feuding, and they give them that 2 out of 3 falls. And I mentioned this on the program last week about the hot openers, the tag matches that we got year after year for quite a while there, from 1989 to 1993. Every year they would kick off with a tag match, whether it was the Rockers and the Orient Express, the Steiners and the Beverly Brothers. Still cringing over Bo's Frankensteiner take, but that's another year to cover. We've already actually covered that on the Grenade in the past. But so we go back here to a 6-man tag, though. Lots of big talent in there, including the Hart Foundation.
Yeah, I think it was a great idea to have those 6 guys open it up. I mean, they probably could have used more time, but I think what they got accomplished in, around 15, 16 minutes-ish, something like that. Yeah. I think it was pretty decent. I didn't recall it being a 2 out of 3 falls match until I went back and rewatched it recently, so that was a nice little surprise.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I mean, they told the story properly. Like, I mentioned that too. I felt like the first and third fall were kind of short. I would have settled for one of them, maybe stretch the other one, but that's now nitpicking at that point. It was fine for what it was. It kept the match moving, and the crowd was hot the entire time. And then, of course, they bring out the ladies, and not so much. We move on now to the super pose down portion of the event. And so I think our argument as kids was always, why is this not a wrestling match, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I would much rather see the guys have a actual match than what that was. At least they came to their senses, and I don't believe they've ever had anything like that again. I mean, I could be wrong, but I mean, yeah, even then as a kid, it was a little boring for me.
I go back and I think about the 1988, the Dino Bravo bench press record gimmick, and I think, well, nothing can be worse than that. So at least the super pose down has that beat in the history of the Royal Rumble or big events for the WWF. But at the same time, that's a lot of time to be spending on your pay-per-view to run an angle, and obviously we do get an angle out of that, setting up the feud for the next 8 months between the Warrior and Rick Rude. And they'll rekindle that feud in 1990 as well for the world title later on between Warrior and Rude. But so even though it took a while to get to the payoff, what were your impressions? Do you remember what you were thinking going out of that match, the attack, the contest, not a match, sorry guys, but the Rude, the beatdown on the Warrior?
Well, I remember thinking like these two are going to, either this is going to be the, start of something awesome, because like I said, I would have much rather seen a match. So the fact that it did lead into a series of matches, that's good. But as far as like my impressions, I thought Rude, like if it was an actual competition, there's no way. I mean, at the very least, he would have won the ab flex, right? Like there's no way Warrior would have won that. Sure. Basically, Warrior just did his thing, made a lot of noise, yelled, and tried to, pose as best as he could. And the crowd was going to eat it alive and cheer for him no matter what. If it was a legit competition, though, Rude would have won that hands down.
Yeah, well, like I said, the irony in that whole thing is Warrior was a bodybuilder before he was a professional wrestler. So it's like he knew what he was doing going out there. So it's almost like, and imagine this, the Warrior didn't take it seriously. And so he's like, yeah, I'll go out there and I'll do and all that nonsense. Exactly. And at one point he does that, and Rude makes a face like, what the fuck? Like he was legitimately broke kayfabe for a minute. They're like, not that Rude would fear any man. You know, he had a one punch knockout from all the stories I've heard, but at the same time, it's probably like, what the hell's he doing? Kind of deal. We're like, we're working here on pay-per-view. And so
off script, man.
And then, of course, Bobby Heenan with the water bottle squirt, which Warrior no sells. And Bobby had went on, years later in a shoot interview to shit on that. Like he was supposed to, sell it. Like, obviously it's not going to blind you, but it's supposed to distract you. And so here's Bobby Heenan 3 inches from the Warrior's face, squirting water in his eyes, and Warrior's just staring directly at him. But man, Rick Rude made him pay for it with that crowbar or the flex bar from behind.
Yeah, he did, man. Yeah, I had completely forgot about the water thing again until I rewatched it. But it's funny how you miss or don't remember some of those little nuances to things like that. But the 2 out of 3 falls for the 6-man, the water to the face. I don't know how I forgot that. Obviously, I did remember how it all ended with the flex bar. I remember thinking as a kid, like, what is that thing that he's using? Is that like I don't know. Like now as an adult, I understand, what it was. But back then I was just like, did he just like make that or find that, somewhere?
Flex bar just sitting around somewhere. Well, I first time I ever saw one of those being used was Mr. T would have that a whole lot when he was cutting promos with Hogan leading into WrestleMania. But it's kind of funny because here we are in 1989 and you have a guy who clearly worked out at some point in his life, Jesse Ventura. And he's like, what is that thing that he has, Gorilla? Like Gorilla Monsoon has a fucking clue. So it's
okay. So at least Jesse agreed with what I was thinking. That
yeah, and of course that's just to build up the muscle. It's almost like when he goes down to do the push-ups, you're trying to get the veins bulging, you're trying to get the biceps, poking through and whatnot. So that's
keep
really
those hoses.
That's right.
Keep those hoses pumped.
Show the hoses. See, Don Morocco should have been here for this. Unfortunately, he's been gone for a few months. That would have been an interesting pose down for sure. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but probably not as good as the matches the Warrior had with Rude. Rude was the first guy to really bring the Warrior out of his shell and have a good match with him, I feel like, here in the company.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know it took a little help from Heenan, but the fact that I don't want to fast forward too much and spoil it for everyone, but yeah, I mean, the fact that, Rude actually posed a threat to the Warrior and could possibly even, beat the Warrior. I mean, that was awesome. So like I said, I was looking forward to that whole feud, and I'm glad it even carried on to, after Warrior was champ, a year later. So I always liked Rude.
Well, we were little Warriors. We both liked the heels too. I think we shared the same heels. We loved Ravishing Rick Rude, Mr. Perfect, the model Rick Martel. It was always the heels that looked cool or acted cool, but also could work in the ring. I think we appreciated it. Even though we didn't know what work ethic was back then or things of that nature, it was still, more fun to watch guys that were competent at what they were doing inside the ring, not just in the gimmick portion of things. And so Rick Rude was one of them, but Warrior was obviously, he was my guy for several years there during this period, and this would be part of that period. So Intercontinental title feud on our way now, Rick Rude and the Ultimate Warrior leading into WrestleMania 5 and beyond. Looking forward to discussing that in future episodes. But we move on to the fourth and final match before the Rumble, and that was the Battle for the Crown. Harley Race has returned after having nearly 2 feet of his intestines removed. Took about 7 months off after WrestleMania 4, and he was back by the fall, part of Survivor Series, and now here he comes back for his crown that he did not give up. He refused to abdicate the throne, we found out, but unfortunately, Haku was crowned the new king by Bobby Heenan, the Heenan family, and now Race was back to come for his crown, and this would wind up being Harley's swan song in the company. He comes back to do the job on the way out to the new king, kind of pass the crown, so to speak, and the match was very snug, very solid. There were some serious moves that connected in this match. A Haku headbutt to the bridge of the nose of Harley Race at one point would have floored a normal human being, but Harley just stood there and fired back with like a stiff clothesline instead. But the finish is what gets me, as Harley Race walks straight into one. Haku has the nastiest thrust kick in the history of wrestling. And for Harley Race to take it directly on the chin, an amazing camera angle from the point of view they show on TV as well. Yeah, that looked like a finish to me. So that was the match omitted from the Coliseum video, which is unfortunate because the pile driver on the floor, both guys missing diving headbutts off the top rope. They really, they put in the effort there. And the fans, they popped at the beginning. Remember when Harley comes out and dumps Haku off the sedan, but they seem to die throughout the match because we have 2 heels in the ring. Nobody's technically the babyface, and Vince never allotted any time on TV to build to the match.
Yeah, I mean, I liked Harley Race. I won't say like he was like up in my top 5 or 10 at the time. I think you were a big Harley fan. I always did like Haku though, and I know this doesn't have to do with the match, but did you notice the throne that Jesse was sitting in heading into this match? Isn't that the same one that they were using at the King of the Ring pay-per-view in '93? It looked the exact same, man.
It's funny you mentioned that. We just recorded this week the videocast version of Royal Rumble 89, and as Jesse was sitting in the throne, I asked my co-host for the show, Gene Jackson, I said, what do you want to bet if we go back and watch like King of the earlier King of the Rings with Mabel and those guys, Owen Hart and those guys up there when they had that prop? I said, there's no way they recycled. Do you think they recycled it, Gene? And but they probably
they pulled it out of the warehouse.
Yeah,
man.
Put it in the warehouse and pulled it back out. Hey, remember that one time? And that was a good call, man. Absolutely. That Jesse's sitting on the throne. Gorilla having a little fun with that pun, but. No, I was wondering the same thing. Now I have to go back and look at one of those King of the Ring, kind of do a side-by-side view and check it out. That's a good point you made there. I'm sure somebody
But the match itself was very good, and I don't know what year they decided to add it. I don't know if it was, when they started doing like WWE. What was the network called before the WWE network? I know you had it.
24/7? Yeah,
24/7. So I don't know if it was like that long until they added that match back in or what. Maybe you can shed some insight on that because I don't even know.
It would have been whenever, they started putting out those anthology sets, I would have to imagine. Remember when the WrestleMania anthologies came out, they eventually dropped the anthologies of the other pay-per-views, and they would put them in a lot more complete form than they were before the Coliseum video versions. Now, I don't remember when I first saw the Harley Race Haku match, when I first got to see the live version tape, but I will have you know that same tape that your friend brought over and let you watch in 1989 of the Royal Rumble match, 10 years later, and I'm guesstimating here roughly, your friend allowed you to borrow that again. And you brought it over my house, and you said, well, he wants this back, so just watch it, and I'll bring it back to him. And to this day, I still have that tape from your friend. So,
are you kidding? Wow.
That's yeah. I've actually went on
Clifford,
to convert it
if you're listening, sorry for not returning your VHS, man.
Hey, man, I've converted it to digital. I've converted it to DVD. So whatever version he wants, he can have it back anytime. So, and hey, you never mentioned it again. I wasn't going to mention it again. If he wanted it back, obviously I would have given it back. But come on, man, me being a giant pro wrestling fan, and that use that term very, very loosely. I mean, a lot more than that, but I was like, well, I'll just hold on to it for safekeepings. And so that's pretty much what happened.
I mean, we lived it, man. Our childhood was always, geared around, the next time we're going to watch the next wrestling pay-per-view or the next, handful of G.I. Joes we're going to get so we could add to the roster for our fantasy, booking.
Oh, I need a new notebook so I can create my new promotion, our new federation booking. Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I would buy notebooks. Yeah, like every other time I went to the store, I needed a new notebook, even though, the first one probably still had 90 out of the 100 pages free in it. I'd always want to start fresh with a new notebook, a new promotion.
Fuck ripping out those 10 pages. I need 100 pages, damn it. And so that's pretty much, absolutely. And
yeah, college rules.
Yeah, need as many lines as possible. I'm booking a lot of shit here, pal. It's great times, man. But I think back, and that was another big thing we used to do with the early Royal Rumbles is we would write down all the times the guys would enter the ring, the times they were eliminated, who they were eliminated by, and we would kind of, do the math and how long each guy was in. So we kept, tallies of all this shit way back in this time, 89, 91, 92, and so on. We did that up until, I don't know, I probably stopped around 93, 94. But, I mean, that was just another thing. We loved the Royal Rumble. It was, and I talked about this with Gene at the beginning of the videocast version, was I didn't realize WrestleMania was the big show initially. Survivor Series was always my big thing because we get to see all these random teams, all these random guys square off in the ring, and it was always so cool to see so many guys on one pay-per-view. And Royal Rumble was number 2 for me, the big match at the end of the show, the 30-man. WrestleMania probably came in a nice third. SummerSlam was way at the bottom for me. And that's funny because that was, it's what I got for my birthday. Unfortunately, that's when I was born, and that's what I got. But it wasn't until, I guess, Warrior and Hogan made me see, oh, okay, this is much more than, just another pay-per-view. But I don't know. I was always a huge Rumble and Survivor Series guy in the early years.
Yeah, I would agree with that, man. Royal Rumble probably would take the cake for me, especially, the younger I was, the more I liked the chaos and the whole, the atmosphere of the Rumble. yeah, Survivor Series at the time, we didn't get to see, certain guys tag with each other. Surely not 8, random dudes in the same ring at the same, maybe not at the same exact time. But yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think those two were 1 and 2 for me. And then SummerSlam and WrestleMania is just like, okay, it's a bunch of singles matches, pretty cool. Maybe some tag team matches. But yeah, I think WrestleMania 6, with Hogan and Warrior, that obviously, kind of changed my belief system just a tad. I don't know, like SummerSlam when they had that 2 out of 3 falls match with Demolition and the Hart Foundation, my top 2 teams of all time. Like I started appreciating, SummerSlam and WrestleMania more as time went on, but at the beginning, I was 100% on board with Royal Rumble.
Yeah, it was always a good time, and it never got any better than when they threw it to Howard Finkel standing in the middle of the ring, and he would announce, "It is now time for the Royal Rumble." And it just sent chills down your spine because it was time, right? It was time for the big match at the end of what everybody's been waiting for all night. And I feel like that's part of the reason why the crowd kind of moved on from the Harley Race match before it ended, because they were just ready. It's like, well, this match doesn't have a whole lot of meaning behind it. Yeah, the crown is on the line, but these guys really haven't been doing much on TV to build up our anticipation. So let's get to the big one. Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, the Twin Towers, Andre the Giant, Big John Studd. The list goes on and on and on. And so there it was, Howard Finkel in the ring explaining the rules. And then he says that ever important line, "Let us all find out who drew number 1." And boom, like you said, here comes the axe. Here comes the smasher. Number 1 is one half of the tag team champions, Demolition Axe. And somebody's about to get their ass kicked here, whoever drew number 2. But let's go back. Let's just talk about, we won't even talk about number 2 yet. Let's just talk about the importance of sending somebody out number 1 as big on the roster as one half of Demolition and Axe.
Well, yeah, I remember when they were doing the backstage, the number drawings or whatever.
Yeah.
I think they each made a similar comment. Didn't Axe say something like, "Well, it's going to be a long night," so kind of like.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah, foreshadowing. Obviously, we didn't have any idea it was going to be 1 and 2.
Right.
Back to back, but. Yeah, I always loved Demolition's music. I loved their whole shtick. So, I mean, even if Smash wouldn't have been number 2, the fact that I got to hear the Demo's music to open the 30-man part, that would have been good enough for me. But,
absolutely.
Yeah, what came next was like just a, shit moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another good point you made. We got to hear the Demolition theme because this was not in an era where everybody had theme music play them to the ring during the Rumble match. So, we were using, well, probably not records, but maybe tapes at this time. I'm not sure what they were using to hit the music, so it was a little harder to cue everything up and have it ready within that 2-minute window for each guy to walk out. Plus, not everybody had theme music during this period. It would have been weird to watch the Warlord walk out to nothing and then the Rocker come out or something like that. So, but and so we hear Axe come out there, and somebody's about to get beat up, right? And that's pretty much the general consensus between Jesse and Gorilla as well. But then we find out the man who draws number 2. And the Demolition music hits again. And the first time I watched this, I'm thinking, you got to be shitting me. And out comes Smash. No fool, guys. Axe versus Smash, number 1 and number 2. And I know somebody out there is going, geez, what are the odds? We'll get to that later about tag teams and odds in this match. Right now, this was just badass, right? This is what we, what a way. No better way to start this thing off. I don't think you needed to prove that it was going to be friend versus friend, partner versus partner, every man for himself. There's not another tag team on the roster right now that would have made more impact than seeing Axe and Smash go at it. I thought it was a perfect little build to the beginning of the match.
I mean, no doubt about it. I'm probably underselling it a little bit, because I'm a little more reserved in my old age. But, dude, as a kid, I remember jumping up off the floor. I was sitting on the ground, the carpet, like 3 feet away from the TV because, when you're sitting closer, it just,
you're there
whatever
live,
that does for you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Anyway, I'm sitting like 3 feet away from the TV, my old Zenith. And I remember when Smash's music hit, dude, I literally jumped up from the carpet like, are you kidding me? I mean, it was an awesome moment, man. If I could only get that excited over something again at this age.
Oh, man, wouldn't it be tremendous? And to me, I have to imagine, I don't even recall anything that's happened over the last quarter of a century in the Royal Rumble. And there have been some good spots and things, don't get me wrong. But to me, that still holds up. It has to always hold up as a top 10, right? Because it set the stage for Rumbles to come, even though
100%.
They tried it out in 1988, and they did okay with what they had. this was telling. Oh my God, Axe versus Smash. And I love because you don't even have that time to go, what are they going to do? WCW had those lethal lotteries. So many times did it fail. Freebird versus Freebird, Steiner versus Steiner. They would try it all the time. And these guys would get in the ring and do next to nothing with each other. Well, I'm not going to work with you. And so that doesn't happen here. Smash slides in.
Oh, yeah.
They stare at each other
into each other.
2 seconds. They stare at each other and they begin
throwing.
Yeah.
Nowadays they would have let the crowd soak it in. They probably wouldn't have even touched each other for 30 seconds. They would have been looking back and forth and milking the moment. But man, they just started tearing into each other, dude. It was great.
Yeah, started throwing punches before the bell even sounded. That's what money will do to you, they say there on commentary. And Axe and Smash for the first 2 minutes, leading to the number 3 man to come out. And you look at the roster, who could it be? The 8th wonder of the world, Andre the Giant. And long before the camera pans to him, the crowd, they make one of the loudest noises they make in the entire Rumble match. I'm not saying it was a cheer. It wasn't a pop, but it was just like a general, what the fuck is about to happen now? And I go, what is, and then they cut away and it's Andre the Giant walking the ring. And now, as slow as Andre walks, you have time to wonder, what the fuck's about to happen here? Because Axe and Smash are fighting, but this is fucking Andre the Giant about to step in the ring. And then you see, I don't remember who grabs who, but one of the Demolition grabbed the other one and they stop punching him and just pull him back. All right, here we go. Now we're a team. As Andre comes in.
Right.
And now they're going to double team the Giant, but I don't know that you could book a more perfect first 3 guys into this match.
I agree, man. And I'm glad that they put Andre in there early. So, because, as a kid or even as an adult, you're looking at this guy. It's like, how the hell are they going to get him over the top rope, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm thinking this dude might be in here at the end. He might last the whole way. But I was glad that Demolition was in there to work as a team. I was thinking maybe they could pull something off here. But yeah, it was good. I'm glad Andre was number 3, man.
Yeah, you don't get any bigger than that. Andre the Giant has that back history feuding with Hulk Hogan. He has a legacy that goes far beyond the Hogan match. And he's the king of battle royals. And here's Demolition having to take it to him. Andre holding his own. And I talked about the perfect first 3 guys. Well, in comes number 4, Mr. Perfect. Kurt Hennig making his way to the ring here. Still rocking the trunks, not yet in the singlet. That's closer to WrestleMania 5 time. Mr. Perfect gets in there, and he proceeds to be number 4, and he's in there until Hulk Hogan comes in, which is much later in the match. And if you actually have to sit there and start paying attention to everything everyone's doing, like I did with the reviewing, you realize, man, and I think it's silly to say, Kurt Hennig was, great out there because he was perfect out there. But, just the bumps he was taking, he was going after everybody. It's like somebody talked to him backstage and said, this is your moment. Go out there and get over. Because he was going after everybody from Andre to the Honky Tonk Man. And again, proving this is every man for himself.
Yeah, he definitely didn't discriminate. I wouldn't say, how I thought about Mr. Perfect, as time went on. Maybe perhaps, here, he wasn't even on my radar. But I definitely had my eyes opened after this, the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania 5. I think once... maybe not even WrestleMania 5, but I do know that by the time I started really liking him and he was up in there in the top echelon of heels in my book, he was already wearing the singlet. He might have already been Intercontinental Champion by that time, but this is definitely a performance, that made him stick out. And I did like the fact that he was going after everyone, heel, face, it didn't matter.
Now you talk about sticking out. Maybe it was the genius that got him over. Maybe, who knows? But yeah, no, Mr. Perfect comes out here and he does a great job. Like I said, from the bumping to just going after everybody, taking it to at one point he just grabs dead weights, lifts the Honky Tonk Man and tries to pitch him out. I'm just like, wow, okay, he's out here. He means business. He's trying to get himself over. Coming from being an AWA World Champion in an era where it didn't mean what it meant at once upon a time, but it was on ESPN at that point. So some fans knew Kurt Hennig coming into his run here as Mr. Perfect. And then he had all those great vignettes. And this is really his time to shine, and he finally starts getting himself over. And speaking of former world champions, up next is Rugged Ronnie Garvin, his first pay-per-view in the company. They never really give Ronnie a whole lot here in the company. He's going to have that match with Valentine in the 90 Rumble, but here Garvin's out. He's not out here very long, but he gets some licks in and things of that nature. He's finally made it to the pay-per-view scene here in the WWF. He's only been here a couple months. But so we go through, Andre begins eliminating a few of the names here. I thought it was a little early for Smash to go out. Smash wasn't in there all that long, and I thought, We could have kept the Demolition in there a little longer together, but Garvin's out second, Andre tossing both those guys, Valentine's in, but everybody keeps going for the Giant. So up to this point, we're at number 6 or whatever it is, everything is logical. Everything makes sense. Everybody's going for Andre because, well, they realize he's the threat. How are we going to get this guy out if we don't work together? So even the heels are coming in. Valentine, but Garvin, everybody's going after Andre, which is why Andre has to start eliminating guys.
Yeah, I mean, it makes complete sense. They didn't have the history of other Royal Rumbles to know that, hey, man, we all need to team up on this guy if we're going to have a chance to get him out, a la Earthquake and, other guys further down the road. But it's like, it's smart. Like, everyone that came in should have taken a little pot shot at him, and then maybe over the course of, 20, 30, however many minutes, it'd wear away, and maybe they can get him out. So it was smart.
As a kid, I didn't understand cardio, so I didn't realize the theory of Andre lasting the full hour was almost impossible. But I got to say, they kept him in here a lot longer than I would have expected, and he held his own. Not that he was choking a lot of people and things like that, but he was getting up and down quite a bit for a guy who really hadn't done anything like this in a couple of years. He hadn't moved like this. So I had to give kudos to Andre in this match.
Yeah, 100%, man. Kudos to Andre. I can't recall a time after, Royal Rumble 89, maybe WrestleMania 5, maybe. But yeah, I mean, he was probably more active there than I had ever seen him.
Yeah, I mean,
in my childhood.
Yeah, he wasn't as good as he once was, but he was good once as he ever was in this match. And then I think he gave it all in this match, and he was kind of done after this because WrestleMania 5 with Jake wasn't too pretty, and the 30-second matches with the Warrior, and then they would stick him with Haku to hide him on the apron. So this is pretty much it for Andre as far as being active in the ring. And this is what, the most he's done, I think, maybe since the Hogan match a year ago on Saturday night's main event, or the main event, if you will. But so we get a bunch of guys out here. They're trying to eliminate Andre. Andre's tossing a couple of them out. And then number 7, Jake the Snake Roberts, who, if you ask me, a little faux pas on his promo earlier when he drew his number. Jake draws the number 7. What are the odds that Andre would be before Jake? Yet Jake says in his promo, I just hope Andre's still in there when I get there, which would lead you to believe Jake was like 25 or something, right? But here's Jake. He just happened. And I think we talked about this.
Or how did he know Andre was going to be in there before him?
That's what I mean. Yeah, that's the entire point. Why would you think that Andre must be 1 through 6? Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But shame on you, Jake, the king of psychology and the master of the promo. But so in comes Jake, and we talked about this a lot as kids. Jake just fails miserably in this Royal Rumble. I didn't understand this booking. I mean, there's going to be some repercussions for Andre later, but Jake essentially is choked out for 2 straight minutes and then thrown out like a piece of shit, basically, here. What are your memories of that? Because we've talked about that growing up.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't believe it. Jake was pretty hot, then, and then for the next, few years with his whole big face run. I was very shocked that I think when he first got in the ring, I think he did get a couple punches off on somebody before he started getting choked out. But yeah, it was almost immediate.
Yeah. Yeah. He comes in, he goes right after Andre, throws a couple jabs, and then straight to the corner, and he chokes the life out of him. In real life, a guy that size choking you for that long, you'd be dead. But Jake Roberts, Jake Roberts should have been dead many a times, people say, and he's still kicking. So there's that too. But Andre the Giant chokes the life out of Jake, tosses him out of the ring, eliminating Jake the Snake Roberts after only about 2 minutes' time. Meanwhile, in comes number 8, Outlaw Ron Bass, number 9, Shawn Michaels of the Rockers, and there's another one. While I knew Kurt Hennig had taken some fun bumps in the past, I really got to appreciate everything he was doing. But Shawn Michaels was somebody that really, went under the radar for me in this Royal Rumble, even though, again, it sounds silly to go, man, Shawn Michaels really performed well here. He really did as a rocker here in 1989. Certainly not, he did a lot better here than he did in 1990. Boy, did he draw the wrong number entering in between Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior. Because he lasts about 5 seconds.
Yeah.
But Shawn here, I thought he did a lot of fun stuff with Hennig and beyond.
Yeah, well, I mean, knowing what Mr. Perfect, knowing what Shawn Michaels went on to become, especially Shawn Michaels with his, multiple world title runs, all that stuff. Going back and looking at it now, it's like, oh, I want to focus on these guys that became huge stars, and then you kind of notice it a little more. At the time, I might not have been like, whoa, Shawn Michaels is tearing it up, but like when you really pay attention, you could see both of them just working their asses off, man. And then why they became what they became is because they put in the work.
Yeah, and after Shawn gets in there, he has a little back and forth with Hennig. Both guys take bumps over the top rope, nearly eliminate. Hennig takes a bump at one point. Just if he had just grabbed the rope wrong, that would have been the end of him because it was a Mr. Perfect style bump. And he manages to hang on, climb back in the ring, and he'll be here for a while, like I said, till Hogan gets in there. Ron Bass, when he came out, we got to see the shaved head or nearly shaved head after the match with Brutus on Saturday night's main event. I don't know. I know Ron Bass winds up doing a match on primetime the day after this. But after that, I don't know that Bass is going to be on TV a whole lot more. If he is, it's going to be those primetime style matches, not on syndicated TV. So he's going to be gone by the middle of March. So this is basically the end of Ron Bass on TV for the most part anyway, for all intents and purposes. So he's in there for a little bit, gets a little bit of time to shine, if you will, the bald head of his anyway. Bushwhacker Butch is number 10, and this was always fun to me because I wasn't a fan of the Bushwhackers whatsoever, but I always liked Butch way more than I liked Luke. Butch just, when he got in the ring, he seemed to actually work a little better than Luke did at this stage in their life, which is ironic because I think Butch was a little older. But in comes Butch at number 10, and it takes me back to their promo that they cut when they drew their numbers. I got a butte, mate. Me too. Let's swap. And it shows you Luke's a little more intelligent than we gave him credit for, because now Butch comes in at 10, and we're not going to see Luke for another 10, 12 numbers. So who's the genius here in the Bushwhackers? Luke's like, yeah, I got a good number too, mate. Let's swap. And then Butch gets stuck with number 10 here.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they were genius because they realized everyone else was coming out back to back. Maybe we should spread out a little bit. Maybe that was the genius move of the Bushwhacker.
Well, that could have been it if we're going to call them the genius. I've got a genius coming here later in the year. Well, actually, in a couple months. But speaking of Butch's entrance, just right behind Butch, trailing him, is a quickly recovered from a giant strangulation. Jake the Snake Roberts is headed back to the ring, but he's not alone this time. This time he's bringing with him Damian as he slides him straight into the middle of the ring. The ring parts like the Red Sea, and Andre the Giant gets a whiff of Damian. He sees Damian sitting there right in the middle of the ring, and Andre jumping out of the ring, eliminating himself. He did a great job there of showing the fear. And for a guy who was fairly immobile, for Andre the Giant, he ran and jumped. I use that term, take it the way you want, but he jumps out of the ring and he stumbles off, and he's very upset at the fact that he is now eliminated. Apparently in 89, you could eliminate yourself. Of course, we called that into question in 92 when Randy Savage does so, and then he gets back in the ring, and Gorilla's like, well, you can't eliminate yourself, Brain. And it's like, well, yeah, you can, but Randy wasn't supposed to. A little overzealous. Imagine that, the Macho Man.
Well, Andre didn't eliminate himself, though. Damian eliminated him.
Okay. Well, we can call it an assist from Damian at the very least. That's for certain. So, basically, Andre chokes the life out of Jake, and he told Jake, if I ever get you in the ring without that snake, I'm going to take care of business. And he did. He proved that. I can handle you, Roberts, as long as you don't have that damn Damian by your side. But Jake comes back and gets his revenge, if you will. So we're back to even. And these guys will continue to feud into WrestleMania time. But Andre's eliminated. We were wondering, how was he going to go out? Because he was handling everybody coming at him. And it didn't take a bunch of wrestlers, but just one snake to eliminate a giant here in the Rumble. But another great spot in the match. It felt like something they wouldn't come up with for years, because we see a lot of hokiness now. Like, all the little clever spots they come up with for the eliminations and things. But during this period, that was thinking outside the box.
Yeah, it was definitely something different. So, I mean, I'm glad they did that. It was a way for Andre to kind of get eliminated, yet still save face. But, yeah, I mean, I think it was much better than that Royal Rumble that turned into like an Extreme Rules match. I don't remember exactly what year that was, the early 2000s.
Oh, 2001.
And some of the other things that they've tried to do. But, yeah, the snake was pretty cool.
I think that was also the Drew Carey Royal Rumble, if I remember correctly. But it's another year, another memory grenade. Oh, man. Let's see. We move on. And number 11 is the former Intercontinental Champion, the Honky Tonk Man. Number 12, Tito Santana. Arriba! Number 13, Bad News Brown, which is, again, I go back to the Rumble drawings. Honky Tonk Man pulls his number. He can't be more angry. Oh, shit. Draw number 11. Meanwhile, Bad News Brown pulls his number 13, and he goes, it's good news for bad news. So he liked his number here. Bad News coming to fight. He's from the streets of Harlem. He said, I did this every weekend. I'm looking forward to this. So he's coming out here at number 13. We're starting to build the ring up. Obviously, there's a little fodder in here. And it's kind of crazy because you look at the Honky Tonk Man, comes in at 11. He's gone by after Bad News 13. Honky's in there for less than, say, 5 minutes, and he's eliminated by the tandem of Bushwhacker Butch and Tito Santana. My, how the mighty have fallen. What has happened to the Honky Tonk Man?
Yeah, I caught that too, man. I thought it was even less than 5 minutes, but yeah, I'll give him credit for 5 minutes there. I did like seeing like the different eliminations like later on. I'm sure you'll get to it, so I won't spoil it or anything. But yeah, just like the different combos of people that eliminated others. I thought that was pretty cool. Everything wasn't tied to like a direct storyline. Everything didn't, lead to a feud, just like randomness. And that's what I loved about the Rumble as a kid, man.
And later on, some of these Rumbles, I think of 91 right off the top of my head. There was just guys sliding into the ring and picking a corner and trying to, toss each other out there, kind of slowly hanging over the top rope and throwing a couple forearms and punches and things. But this Rumble was constantly active. Guys performing spots, everybody on the go, everybody moving around, everybody trying to do something. And I think that's what makes this Rumble really fun, at least 2/3 of it anyway. And we'll get to that later. We're going to continue on here. Shawn Michaels still in the ring when out comes number 14, Marty Jannetty. So we have both Rockers in the ring at the same time now. It could be fun using a double drop kick to eliminate the Outlaw. Out goes Ron Bass, and it was good to see a tag team get together that weren't drawn back to back and using a little double team spot to eliminate somebody.
Yeah, man, the Rockers up and coming, man. I used to love the Rockers. So, I always talk about how Hart Foundation, Demolition, top 2 of all time. Rockers definitely in my top 5 of all time. So, I mean, this time in the WWF was awesome for tag team wrestling.
Yeah, and Gorilla would have you know they are, in fact, tag team specialists, whatever that is. And so they use their tag team specialty, a double drop kick, since the Outlaw from the matchup. He's done pretty much with the company. He'll stick around for a couple months, but not a whole lot more from Ron Bass. He cut his hair. He did the job on the way out there to Brutus Beefcake on NBC, but Outlaw Ron Bass doing the job here in the Rumble to Shawn and Marty as in comes number 15. And I can't believe it. This might be the earliest a world champion, at least in the golden era, the Hogan era, a world champion came in so early. I'm talking about the Macho Man Randy Savage drawing number 15 midway through the matchup, and the world champion hits the ring, and he comes right after Bad News Brown. And rightfully so, of course, they're working right now on the house shows. Bad News implying that Elizabeth has been performing favors on the president, Jack Tunney. I can't believe they said that back in this time period. But that's where we're at.
That probably didn't age well.
Oh, yeah, there you go. So anyway, Bad News Brown, though, getting the attack from behind from Randy Savage, but Brown going to hold his own, going at it with the Macho Man, Randy Savage in the ring. And number 16, in comes one half of the Brain Busters, 1/4 of the original Four Horsemen, Arn Anderson, coming in here as the Randy Savage, eliminating Greg Valentine, who held his own for a while in this one. Match continues on with Arn now in there. Number 17 just happens to be Tully Blanchard of the Brain Busters, and we've talked about this quite a bit over the years, and we're going to see it again before this match is over. But the back-to-back tag, it's very lazy booking in that right in regards to bringing out the tag team partners. Axe and Smash made sense. Great storytelling. We didn't need to see that again. Even if you threw one person, throw a Coco Beware in between the Brain Busters, but back-to-back, it's Arn and Tully.
Yeah, I mean, the odds, right? But who knows? I mean, there was some shenanigans going on backstage with numbers. Maybe this initial, or at least pay-per-view-wise, the inaugural Royal Rumble, people were wheeling and dealing backstage to make sure they came out with their tag team partner. Like, you never know what was going on.
And, of course, they teased earlier that perhaps Ted DiBiase purchased a higher number from the Doctor of Style, but they didn't say anything to the Bushwhackers when they swapped right in front of the official who was guarding the tumbler. So I guess as long as you trade for free, it's okay. It's when money changes hands and Vince McMahon doesn't get to see any of it, maybe that now there's an issue. Tully in the ring. So the Brain Busters collective unit in the ring at the same time. Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels in the ring at the same time, or so we thought. Unfortunately, by the time Tully gets there, Shawn is long gone, no more, and that's because Arn found himself a different partner. And I know we've talked about this before. You talked about the uniqueness of the teaming up here in the Rumble match. Well, to get your opinion on the elimination of Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, so that was definitely one of the ones that I was alluding to, and Macho Man, of all people, just randomly chooses Arn Anderson to I think it was into the ropes, a double back elbow,
right.
And then Shawn Michaels takes a little flippity flop out to the outside. I thought he was selling for Hulk Hogan in 2005 SummerSlam all over again, man.
Yeah, Shawn Michaels does take a great bump for that double back elbow, but it's so fun to see the world champion, babyface for now, Randy Savage, teaming with Heenan family member Arn Anderson. But it was so cool to see what a dream team, right? At that point in time, wow, I would have never thought I would have saw that. And they eliminate Shawn Michaels right before Tully gets in there. So we almost get the Brainbusters and the Rockers, who are feuding right now, which would have been cool. But instead we get Tully in the ring, and he and Arn team up to take out Marty Jannetty. Spinebuster by Arn Anderson. Glad he got one of those in, even if it was a Rumble. And then we get to the elimination of Marty. Wasn't in there too long. Tully going to eliminate Jannetty, but it's the finish, the ending of the Jannetty elimination, which was always so great. Tully made it, even though it looked pretty simple, both Brainbusters had Marty teetering. He was pretty much out of the match, but Tully, the way he got down and wrapped his arms around Marty's head like he was trying to pull his head off to get him to fall out of the ring. But it was Marty holding on by his toes. I don't know if you remember that, with Marty hanging on the outside, upside down, but it was his toes keeping him in the ring. I was thinking all you have to do is just kind of push his toes off the top rope, but it was a fun elimination.
Right. Well, a lot of times, too, if you really paid attention, again, as a kid, probably not noticing it a whole lot, but guys would actually be holding the person in as they're trying to, dump them over. And it's almost like, come on, guys, don't insult my intelligence. But yeah, I do remember the toes with Marty. He was like the original John Morrison, man, just making one of those moments where, hey, I can, do cool things too.
Yeah, so good stuff there. The Brainbusters using their tag team specialists as well, apparently, on the heel side anyway, eliminating Marty Jannetty. Arn Anderson helping to eliminate Shawn Michaels. So the Brainbusters Rockers feud continues on the house shows. Looking forward to watching some of those matches in the upcoming months at the Garden and Spectrum and things of that nature. But we're back here with the Royal Rumble, and number 18 is the one and only Hulk Hogan. And in comes the Hulkster, and out goes Curt Hennig almost immediately. Hogan grabbing hold of Hennig by the hair and running Mr. Perfect all the way across the ring, throwing him almost over the opposite post. And we'll see that elimination. Hey, you remember that elimination you did for me last year, brother? Let's do that again.
we're gonna do that again.
I was thinking the same thing. Same elimination a year later. Good stuff, fun stuff that we remember, we recall like that. But Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, but at least Mr. Perfect got in the Perfect Plex before the elimination the next year.
True, that is true, absolutely. And here he just gets flung. I don't even know who you are yet, brother. You're out of here, dude. You're not even at my level. So Hogan comes in. He saves the Macho Man from an elimination. Ironic. We'll get to that in just a moment. But he dumps Curt Hennig out to one side, and things get into a cluster against the ropes. Macho Man and Arn Anderson dumping out Tito Santana. So Arn and Macho team up again and eliminate Santana this time. What's going on with this new team of the Macho Man and Double A?
Yeah, I didn't even recall that one. The one where they eliminated Tito.
That was a blink and you'll miss it. Yeah, it was just kind of over in the corner. It was Tito. Nobody was paying attention, including the cameraman.
Yeah, but same two guys. Maybe it wasn't such a random pairing. That would have been cool, though, man. Like, I liked Arn Anderson, so I kind of wish the Brainbusters would have stuck around a little longer.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 19 in is Bushwhacker Luke. 9 numbers after Butch. Let's swap, mate. In comes Luke. And Butch realizes, oh, shit, I wasn't supposed to be in here by the time Luke got here. So the Bushwhackers have to ignore they're in there at the same time, and immediately Butch goes and finds Bad News Brown to be eliminated. So Butch is gone from the match as Luke has just entered. So clearly he missed his cue there, did Bushwhacker Butch, who was like, oh shit, I don't want to get in trouble. This is my debut, mate. And out goes Butch, but in comes Luke. So we still have a Bushwhacker in the ring and I got to say, that was a good little show. He didn't do a whole lot of flashy things, but the Bushwhackers are given a lot more here than they're given in any future Royal Rumble anyway.
Well, yeah, I think Luke at one point broke the record for the shortest time in the Rumble match in 91.
Well, he certainly wasn't in there very long. And yeah, they would get credit, Luke, for many, many years. Obviously, later on when they were going to tell the story properly, they gave it to the Warlord, which is still coming.
Right,
this
yeah,
match.
the Warlord. Yeah, that's this Royal Rumble.
Yeah. Luke and Butch, and they would do it again in 95. I don't know if either guy lasted past 10 seconds in 95 either. So the Bushwhackers never had much success here in the Rumble matches, but they do okay here in their debut, which you don't want to bury them right out of the gate. Number 20, oh shit, first it was Luke in at 19. Number 20, the Birdman, Coco Beware. All right, now we're bringing in the heavy hitters. We're filling up the ring is what we're doing for mass elimination. Mass exodus is a coming, guys. So it's kind of fun. We see some pairings here, and I always get a kick out of this, even as a kid, when Koko Beware and Bushwhacker Luke team up on Hulk Hogan, and it's like, get the fuck out of here. Like, you can't even take it seriously, right?
Yeah, man, it was comical to watch.
So it's like, oh my God, what are you guys even trying to get? Go tell that story in another corner with another guy. So Hogan, he shows them who's boss. Coco's not even in there 2 minutes before he's dumped by the Hulkster. Hey, you had it coming, Coco. You shouldn't have went after Hulk Hogan. Go for the big guns right away. Followed by Bushwhacker Luke, also by the Hulkster. And then Arn and Tully coming after Hulk Hogan, double teaming on beating down the champion, looking to eliminate Hogan, but Hogan comes back with a running clothesline. The problem is they're on the opposite side of the ring. All three men are on one side of the ring. Hogan trying to double clothesline them out of the ring. What do the Busters have to do? They have to run backwards 18 feet and take a double backflip elimination. Both of the guys going over the top rope. Double Hogan clothesline. Kudos for everyone for not tripping and falling during this spot, but it was, master class Arn and Tully. But it's so funny. The double clothesline starts on one side of the ropes and it ends on the far side of the ring. It's just an amazing double elimination.
They were so tall, they just fell over the top rope.
That must be what it was, right? Especially that tall, lanky Tully Blanchard.
Right. I'm just going off the Jake elimination when Vader did something similar.
I remember.
But, yeah, man. Yeah, I noted the same thing in my mind. Like, what the hell? Like, they could have at least been closer to the ropes or at the ropes would have been nice.
I've never seen anybody try to take a bump like that again. I mean, these guys are trying to keep up with Hogan. Hogan's running at full speed because he's running forward. These guys are trying to work backwards so that they can take their bumps, and they pull it off. It's a great elimination, but it sucks that both brainbusters are gone just like that.
Yeah, it definitely takes coordination, to backstep 18 feet and take that bump over the top rope. So.
At a running pace, no less, as in number 21, in comes the Warlord. And out goes the Warlord, another fun spot from our youth. Warlord getting up on the apron, flexing, yeah, I'm going to do it for Master Fuji. Climbs in the ring and gets clotheslined right to the floor by Hulk Hogan. I think he might have lasted about 2 seconds.
Yeah, I don't know what official time they gave him. It had to be shorter than Luke getting walked across the ring by Earthquake in 91. But growing up, I always thought they gave Luke the record.
They did because the Warlord was gone from the company, so they had to give. The WWF. You only talk about guys.
They wanted to talk about someone that was still there. Okay, right, I understand that. Yeah.
By the time they got to those by the number video packages, they gave it back to the Warlord finally. So
okay.
Until Santino beat it, somebody had to beat it in real time, right? So Santino got the 1 second deal or whatever it was, but.
And then they tried to give it to someone else, too, at one point, but they botched it or something like that. I forget who that was.
So at this point, Hogan's eliminating everything moving, right? From the Warlord to the Brainbusters, Koko Beware, Luke. Everybody's going out. Mr. Perfect. Hogan's just tossing the entire roster. I think he winds up with 10 eliminations by the end of this thing, which is just insane. What's 1/3 of the field? Do the math, guys. Hulk Hogan coming in and dumping everybody, and we're going to find out why in just a second. But that was always a fun spot. The Warlord coming in, the Warlord going out, and you never have to see his weaknesses, which is letting him wrestle.
Yeah, I mean everyone found ways to stay busy. That's why I used to like these older Royal Rumbles, man. They weren't just laying around letting two guys stand in the middle, doing a spot. You know what I mean? Like he would have found something to do, whether it was just like going to the corner and hammering on someone's back or something. So, but yeah, it's probably good to give Hogan that. Just show what a force he is. But of all the people, though, man, you would think it would have been, I don't know, maybe someone a little further down the card.
Well,
weren't they still trying to push Powers of Pain as like some badasses?
Yeah,
I was surprised they did that.
Coming for Demolition at this point, right? So, but it's Hulk Hogan, so it really doesn't matter because he's going to prove that he can throw out anybody he wants here, brother. Because it's unfortunate that Busters are both out at the same time, but they're in the wrong place at the wrong time. Hogan's clearing the house. And it doesn't stop there because next he walks over and dumps out Bad News Brown. There's only one problem. Brown had Randy Savage teetering over the ropes at the same time. So when the Hulkster dumped Brown, he inadvertently, and I'll put air quotes around that, eliminated his partner, the Macho Man, as well. Let's talk about this big angle, man.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely an interesting moment, but, Hogan was able to say, sorry, brother, I was just trying to dump out Brown. I mean, he could have done a little better job of that. I mean, it's 2-on-1 at that point, theoretically, so, he could have backed Brown off or, gave him a little pot shot to the back of the head to get him off Randy, and then they could have tag teamed him and eliminated him. So I don't know, man. Every time I watch one of these old late 80s, early 90s pay-per-views, man, I just see more and more how, like, Hogan was kind of like a whiny, I don't know, he was basically a heel in Face's clothing is what he was.
Yeah, I think he's not just teaching the kids the training, the prayers, and the vitamins. It's also be a sore loser, as we're going to find out here in a little bit. But first, it's the big angle. We continue that story. Randy Savage, there seems to be issues within the Mega Power camp, but Randy keeps assuring us, no, where everything's just fine. And then Hulk Hogan walks over and somehow does not see the Macho Man halfway hanging out of the ring as he dumps Bad News Brown. And so Savage goes out with Brown, and now both of those guys are eliminated, but Savage is hot. Straight back in the ring, slapping Hogan, finger in the face. Literally great stuff here. Great heat brought on by the Macho Man. I love it. Just the emotion, the energy he brings to fuck you, Hulk Hogan. And I'm sure a lot of that was real. Like, fuck you, who's got to be the in the limelight or whatnot here, the spotlight. But great little angle. Here comes Elizabeth rushing down to ringside in her high heels, and she got used to that over time. Rushing to the ring, trying to separate the two. Very vocal was Liz, which I'd never really noticed before. I'm not sure what she was saying, but she was really getting on to Savage here. Basically blaming him. I don't know if she was blaming him, but trying to cool him down and saying, it was an accident, yada, yada, yada. And Savage was having none of it. And then randomly, Macho's like, okay, I'll shake your hand, and all is well in the Mega Power camp. If you buy that, guys, then I got some swampland to sell you as well.
Yeah, I have some igloos in Alaska to sell you.
There you go.
So the reaction from Macho Man was warranted, man. Like, what the hell, dude? I don't know. The whole thing was pretty cool. So you start with the demolition thing. That got a huge pop for me out of my seat. This was probably another time where I was just like, whoa, what's going to happen here? What's going on here? So I'm glad that they kind of spaced that out. You had the hot start. You had something like right here in the middle, closer to the end. So, I mean, the pacing was good. I thought, the whole thing to, keep putting a little bit of doubt in your mind about the Mega Powers. So, I mean, just creeping that in there, man. It was a nice touch. I liked it.
So Savage is eliminated, the world champion gone, courtesy of his own partner, Hulk Hogan, who said earlier in an unprovoked interview that he's the real world champion because he was never beat for the belt. Seemed unnecessary to bring that up in the matter of a Royal Rumble match. But he also said if it comes down to him and Macho, he's going to do what he's got to do. So Hulk Hogan making it clear that he thinks that he's the champ anyway. He's the real champion. Fuck you, Randy Savage. So again, you go back to, wow, Hulk Hogan really was a dickhead, which I tried to point out to everybody for years, and nobody wanted to listen. So it is what it is, though. And
R.I.P. Hulk, by the way. I know you probably already said your piece on a previous show, but just wanted to say, this is what I thought of you, watching these pay-per-views back. But, at the same time, he did a lot, for wrestling, and you can't deny that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I have fun with I didn't hate him maybe I did at some points. I hate him to the level I give him the grief here on the program, but sometimes
you still got to call a spade. I mean,
sure,
you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, I got to channel what I was feeling back in 1989, and what I was feeling is up next, number 22 is the Big Boss Man, one of my favorites of all time, even as a heel. And he's out here one-on-one with Hogan. Has cleared the entire ring, I should mention. First time we've seen that in Royal Rumble history. 9 guys eliminated by the Hulkster, I should mention also, right in a row. And out comes the Big Boss Man at number 22. He's feuding with the Boss Man currently, who had beaten him with a nightstick repeatedly at this point in their feud. And now Hogan going to get a chance at revenge. But it is the Boss Man holding his own, a little back and forth here, even delivering a nice pile driver on Hogan. And out comes number 23, just as Hogan was getting his revenge on the Boss Man. Out comes the African Dream, Akeem. So we saw Demolition back-to-back. We saw the Brainbusters back-to-back. And now Twin Towers, though maybe some shenanigans in place here, because obviously we'll get to Ted DiBiase in just a minute. But now we have both Twin Towers in there, and Hogan making sure before the end to slam both men. I got to get over the point that I can slam both of these guys. So he has to slam the near 400-pound Boss Man, the near 500-pound Akeem, and then they can beat him up. And that's what they do. They take down Hogan, the big 747 splash, and unbelievably, there's a gasp, a silence over the crowd as the Twin Towers eliminate Hulk Hogan. I'll be damned.
Yeah, I mean, pretty easily, too. I mean, they just tossed him out. That was another interesting moment. Definitely wasn't expecting that at all.
No, like I said, neither was the crowd. I mean, just a hush goes over the crowd. They talk about you could hear a pin drop when Bruno lost the title to Ivan Koloff. Nobody saw that coming. And I'm not saying this is that level, but it's still the crowd was like, what? Huh? He just threw out 9 fucking guys. Now these 2 big, large men just toss him out and he does go out basically like nothing. Just kind of like Andre when Andre tossed him out of that Battle Royal before WrestleMania 3. But Hogan's not done yet because, as we all know, we've seen it a few times here in Rumble history. He is a sore loser. And so at first, what does he do? He pulls the boss man out under the bottom rope to continue fighting on the floor. But out comes Akeem for a 2-on-1, leading to number 24, just happens to be Brother Brudai. Brutus the Barber Beefcake out to save the Hulkster's day, kinda. Brutus taking the fight back to Akeem in the ring. Boss man going to help double team Brutus for a moment. But then Hogan, the sore loser that he is, pulls the top rope down just as the boss man comes off the ropes. And the big boss man goes tumbling out to the floor, being apparently legally eliminated from the match, courtesy of a guy who's already been eliminated from the match. I can't tell you, if I hadn't liked Hogan before, that sealed the deal that night when he eliminated the big boss man.
Well, yeah, man, I remember you were a huge boss man fan, so I'm sure that pissed you off a little bit. But I didn't even understand, because it's not even like Hogan was wronged. It's not like they cheated. They literally just beat his ass and threw him out. So it's not like, they used a weapon. Slick didn't get involved. It's not like they cheated to eliminate him, because then maybe it's just like, all right, Hogan's taking justice into his own hands. No pun intended on the 92 Rumble. But in this case, it was, just pure poor sportsmanship on his part.
Yeah, and they brawl all the way to the back. Hogan even grabbing like a briefcase from the soundstage area and just whipping it at Boss Man's head at one point. And he's like, I don't have my nightstick. Fuck this shit. And he kind of just stumbles to the back after. But they fight their way all the way to the locker room because they've got cage matches coming up at Madison Square Garden on Saturday night's main event. Some big matches coming between those two. But I was so upset. And that marks basically the end of the Royal Rumble for me, because things just kind of fall apart. It's
all your guys are out.
Yeah,
man.
There's a derailing.
Akeem's still in there though, dude.
That is true. Although I like the Hasbro figure a little more than if he could have had a dance off or something, that would have been great. But
that would have been awesome.
Wouldn't it have been tremendous?
Yeah, it would have been. They did that in 2000 with Rikishi, although it wasn't a dance off necessarily, but that was still pretty slick.
And it was over. Yeah, absolutely. But here in 1989, not so much. We're not doing that, but we do see in the ring, it's Akeem and Brutus fucking Beefcake. That's what we've got left right now for the moment. And Hogan and Bossman have fought their way to the back, and the crowd slowly begins to die as in comes number 25, Poultry in motion. I'm talking about the Red Rooster, just newly turned babyface Red Rooster. He's about 1 day away from getting beat up by the fucking Brooklyn Brawler. So that's what we're at with Terry Taylor's career at this point. Number 26, the Barbarian. Powers of Pain, nothing wrong. Always a big Barbarian guy, but they just kind of hang around in the corners now. And then number 27, making his return to the company after 2 years, Big John Studd, who goes right after the other big man, Akeem. And I swear they stay in the fucking corner for the next 10 minutes, it feels like.
Yeah, I didn't really realize that, but I also don't recall any huge spots from Big John Studd until the very end of the Rumble.
I don't remember.
If you even want to call that last spot a big spot.
Right. I don't remember any spots, period, out of these last 8 guys. It was like the Rumble ended when Hogan and Bossman left the ring. There was no more storytelling. There was no more action. Nobody was really trying to do anything, which is kind of it was basically what we would see in some battle royals in the future, where guys would just kind of lay in the corners and try to, quote unquote, eliminate each other. So we got Rooster, we've got the Barbarian, John Studd, 27, 28. The Mighty Hercules out here. He's recently turned babyface, but not a huge response from the crowd. Even the crowd starting to get the life. They haven't really recovered from the Hogan elimination and then Bossman gone as well. At least I would have kept Bossman around to try to keep some of the action fun. Number 29, another return, Rick Martel. I'm happy to see him back. As you know, I was a huge fan of Martel's as well, coming back as a babyface for the time being. So we're building the ring back up. Those 7 guys only leaves 1 number left, and that winds up being, no shocker, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, who appears to have bought his number 30, the perfect spot, if you will, in future pay-per-views. But here DiBiase gets the main draw here, number 30, the luckiest number. Or I guess lucky enough to be a millionaire, you can buy the number, it would appear. So we've got the final 8 men all in the ring as they begin to go out. We see DiBiase eliminate the Crimson Cock, Red Rooster, call him whatever you want, Ted DiBiase and the Barbarian up from behind. Now, Hercules put in the sleeper hold from Brutus Beefcake, but he's eliminated. Both guys eliminated during the sleeper hold. Way to go, Brudai. Got him and Hercules eliminated. Dumped from
Putting
behind.
everyone to sleep, Brutus.
That's exactly what he's. From the time he came out to the end of the match, everybody fell asleep. I guess you could blame the barber here to some degree. I have to blame John Studd a little bit too, who is still over in a corner somewhere sitting on Akeem. I mean, Andre literally did more in this match than fucking John Studd. Think about that for a minute. Eliminations continue on. Martel drop kicking the Barbarian out. Kind of misses him, so he has to shove him on out. But it is what it is. Barbarian gone. We're down to the final 4. Martel with a crossbody block on Akeem, who catches Rick, dumping him out of the ring. Down to the final 3. As DiBiase looks like money talks here, telling Akeem, instructing Akeem what to do to Big John Studd, but a little faux pas. Studd pulling DiBiase into the corner as Akeem delivering a avalanche splash, smashing DiBiase. Down goes the $1 Million Man. And as Akeem goes to check on him, one of these too tall type situations. Studd with a very weak forearm shot to Akeem, and Akeem has to walk over and eliminate himself from the matchup.
Walk over and eliminate himself.
That's it.
Yeah, man. These last few minutes of the Rumble were a little anticlimactic for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So you figure the last 8 guys, the last 15 minutes, last quarter of the match, maybe a little more than that, obviously, because we're past the number 30 here. Say the last third of the match, just like I said, the train went off the track somewhere right after Hogan and the Boss Man, and it never finds its way back, although DiBiase tries here. He really does try at the end, taking some great bumps for Big John Studd, who's not really doing a whole lot. Even that headstand bump at one point, a clothesline from Big John Studd, and DiBiase anticlimactically thrown to the floor. Could have fooled me. I figured, well, the $1 Million Man, the biggest name left in the match in the final 8. The $1 Million Man bought this number 30. It only made sense that he would win the Royal Rumble, but instead they give it to Big John Studd, who is returning. Clearly, Vince saw something in him, or at least the old John Studd. This one looks like John Studd ate John Studd. Very bloated here with the HGH, the human growth hormone that he had been taking.
Yeah, and I would be hard-pressed to try to think of another wrestler, especially around that era, that had less charisma.
Yes. Oh, man.
I don't know. It was just hard to get excited for that then, and then just rewatching it recently, I was just like, wow. I get it, man. He's making a return after being gone a couple of years. They were trying to maybe give him a little push, but yeah, I mean, I can't recall another guy with less charisma than John Studd, dude.
And less mobility. I mean, Andre probably in a lot more pain than Big John Studd, but John unwilling to take a single bump or even go down in this match, other than when he delivers that double underhook suplex to DiBiase at one point, which was impressive, but that was a lot of Ted taking the move.
The one before the last one was very good.
Yeah.
You know, but that very last one, if they tried to call that, you know, I don't even know what move they called it, but it just looked like he flopped him to the side over his knee. It's just like, oh my gosh.
It was like he was going for a gut wrench suplex, but he decided he wasn't going to take the bump. So it was like a gut wrench throw. He's like, yeah, I'll just drop it.
Yeah.
Then, of course, the clothesline sees DiBiase do a headstand. Always love that bump from Teddy. And then he gets pitched to the floor, but we're not done. We've got one more opponent. Virgil decides he's jumping in the ring, and even Virgil takes some awesome bumps here for John Studd, trying to make Studd look good. I don't know how Vince saw this guy walk in and go, yeah, we're going to push you, pal. We're going to see how long that lasts. Can't even give him a match at WrestleMania. But nevertheless, at the end of the day, anybody can win with no world titles on the line at WrestleMania. Big John Studd is the winner of the 1989 Royal Rumble. I just kind of went, at the time. I didn't really hate it. But when you look back, you go, man, so many lost opportunities with guys that could have went over here. But instead, it was indeed Big John Studd.
Yeah, I mean, I would have thought $1 Million Man as well, you know, along your line of thinking, if he's going to go through the effort of buying number 30. Though if you really think about it, assuming he, swapped numbers with one of Slick's guys, you know, Akeem or Big Boss Man, they were in the 20s as well. So it's not like he bought, you know, an extra 25 spots or nothing. Like he still should have been able to do something with 22 or 23. You know what I mean?
And I mentioned that in our video I just recorded yesterday, too, that when we watched it, I said, wait a minute, if they're 23 and 24 or whatever the numbers were, I go, what did he pay? I hope he didn't pay a lot to, move up 6 spots, right? I mean, you are Ted DiBiase. You should manage to be able to manage 12 minutes, I hope. But so it's a good call. It's always fun to go back and kind of look at those things. But Big John Studd's the winner. Obviously, some plans ahead for him. DiBiase, one of the final 2, but again, that little point of money can't buy everything. It can't buy you the win anyway. It buys you the number 30, but you got to get it done in the ring. And DiBiase did not plan to run into John Studd at the end of the day. The teaming with Hakeem didn't work out so well there for Teddy. As we close up, though, Coliseum Video exclusive, Randy Savage getting interviewed by Mean Gene Okerlund. We saw Jesse Ventura do this at Survivor Series on Coliseum Video. And again, teasing is there issues in the Mega Powers camp. Very cool way to end the show. Kind of follow up there as we lead into WrestleMania.
Yeah, man, I was wholeheartedly looking into WrestleMania 5. I just knew, it wasn't official, obviously at this point yet, but the chances of Macho Man and Hogan squaring off, dude, I was excited as excited as you could get at that age.
Sure. The Mega Powers Explode is the hugest thing in wrestling in a long time. I mean, it's got a peak with the buy rate there during that period. But
yeah.
I know,
and until WrestleMania 6, that was my favorite match, my favorite build-up. In theory, it was going to be like the best match ever, right? And it was a good match. I wouldn't say like it's in my top 5 of all time or nothing, but just the build-up alone, or the thought of that match happening, was just like, it blew my mind, dude.
Yeah, no, the storyline was, leaps and bounds better than anything I think they'd ever told or would tell for a long time to come. Now, the Warrior match was a lot better for me for a lot of reasons. I just thought it was a better match storytelling-wise, but also at the same time, obviously, the Warrior gets the belt. It's what I've been waiting for. But, you going back here, there's no better story. It took a year to tell the story, longer than a year. The Mega Powers formed. Hogan, loses the belt, helps Macho win the belt. Savage defends, and then the whole time there's lust in the eyes, which we'll get into here very soon on the Grenade Show. But, man, I appreciate you. People don't know you actually took time out of your day, your lunch hour spent with me here on the program. We appreciate you stopping by so much. I know you got to get running here. You got a meeting coming up. But it was fun to go back and reminisce again and talk about another big event, Royal Rumble 1989. Well, hopefully we'll have you back for the next big one or two or whatever the case may be as time goes on. But appreciate you, man. I don't know if you have anything, a little wrap up or anything you want to do here before we get rolling, but I just want to say thanks so much for taking time out and joining the program.
Hey, man, it's always a good time to come on here and talk, wrestling with you. I'm willing to come back anytime you'll have me. But, yeah, unfortunately, duty calls, got to pay the bills. But I really appreciate this, man. Thanks for having me on. And everyone I hope you enjoyed the show.
All right, man. That was awesome. Thanks, dude. Appreciate that. All right, guys, it's going to wrap everything up here this week on the Grenade Show, the Royal Rumble 89 in the books. Again, a quick reminder to stop over to patreon.com/WrestleCopia, a simple all-access tier. Sign up. We'll get you the first half of the video cast for Rumble 89, me and Gene Jackson getting together to do that one. Or you can join the ultimate tier. Catch the entire Rumble 89 video cast in its entirety. We had a great time covering it. We know you guys will have a great time watching. So many other great things over there at the VIP tier. Lots of great video casts to offer. But for right now, going to wrap it up. When we return, we continue on. Time stops for no man. It's on to week 3 of January TV here for 1989 in the World Wrestling Federation. The fallout of the Royal Rumble. What's to come with the Mega Powers, the Twin Towers. Hell, Hogan and Savage. Is there more than meets the eye there? Issues in the camp of the Mega Powers. We'll have to wait and see. All of that and so much more. So again, I want to thank my brother so much for stopping by, sharing some more great memories. Always a great time to just kind of relive our childhood together. Hope to have him back maybe for, say, WrestleMania 5 time. But for now, we're going to wrap it up, guys. Be back soon. Another edition of The Grenade right around the corner. Until then, this is Ray Russell saying from pillar to post and coast to coast. You pull the pin, I'll pick up the pieces right here on the Wrestling Memory Grenade. See you next week. Don't miss it. Be there!
We're looking at the Royal Rumble as the resurrection of Hulkamania, man. Oh, yeah, Hulkamania lives. Oh, yeah, Hulkamania's running wild. And you better believe the Hulkster rules, brother.
Hulk Hogan, what if you and your mega power partner, the Macho Man Randy Savage, what if the two of you happen to collide?
But if the Macho Man, the WWF champion, happens to end up in the ring with me, the Hulkster brother, I kind of feel sorry for him, Mean Gene. When it comes down to who rules in the WWF, who is the real champion, I guess if it comes down to me and the Macho Man, he's going to find out real quick that the Hulkster's never been beaten. And yes, Macho Man, I am still called the champ by all my Hulkamaniacs. What are they going to do when the largest arms in the world rumble on through?
You gotta expect the unexpected when you get into the squared circle. Showdown type of situation. I didn't think that there was gonna be one, but obviously, Elizabeth, what happened was I was eliminated. Not because I wasn't the better man, but because I was a victim of circumstances. And a man in my position can't afford to look ridiculous. I'm the World Wrestling Federation champion, Gene Oakland. Misunderstanding, yeah, misunderstanding. I'm obviously the one that misunderstood the situation because I shook Hulk Hogan's hand, yeah, like the champion that I am. I wish him the best of luck.
But I think this is more than just a slight misunderstanding.
Nope.
I think that...
No. Mega powers, yeah. Mega powers on and on and on and on forever and ever and ever. Nothing stops the mega powers. Isn't that right, Elizabeth?